dance with me is my teacher voice. There we go.
So I do want to welcome all of you for being here. We're grateful that you're here. We know this is time out of your evening, so thank you for being with us tonight. I know that a lot of you are here to ask some questions and share some concerns. There's FAQs that are available. If you didn't get a copy, we will have plenty more available, so we will definitely have those for you. We're happy to talk about anything on that topic or anything else that you like. That's why we do Quaker Conversations. We have them a couple times a year. We added this one, but we like to do this because there is no agenda. We can talk about what's on your mind, answer questions. The only thing we cannot talk about are specific students and specific teachers for laws and legal reasons. But other than that, that's what we're here for this evening. Also, just to ensure that everything is captured, all the comments are captured accurately, we will be audio recording this evening. So just so you know, that is the case for tonight. What we'll do is I would like for board members and administrators, if you're here this evening, to introduce yourselves so everybody can know who we are. I do ask that if you have a comment or a question that you introduce yourself to us as well. So if you let us know your name and who you are, we'd appreciate that. So I will start. I know it's a little bit of a bigger group. We'll go this direction. So if you're a school board member or an administrator, I just ask that you introduce yourself and your role here within the schools. My name is Jessica Elston, and I am on the school board.
I am Pat Cooney, the principal of Plainfield High School.
Laura Delvecchio, assistant superintendent.
Travis Smith, I was appointed to the school board in the fall.
Good to see you. How you doing? How are your kids? Fantastic. I'll take a picture.
I'm Colleen Cherry, principal at Guilford Elementary.
Scott Olinger, superintendent.
Julie
Oh, I'm
Thacker.
sorry.
What? Okay.
Oh, it's Frazier.
Julie Thacker, principal at Central. Tracy Ballinger, director of the Imagination Lab.
I'm Ray Hellman, principal of Van Buren.
Julie Smesky, principal at Brentwood Elementary. Beth Shepard, director of special education. Marisa Donovan, principal at Park Street Elementary.
Scott Flood, school board member.
Mark Shavich, assistant superintendent of finance and operations.
I'm Liz Eastham, the assistant principal between Brentwood and Park Street Elementary School.
I'm Justin Building, director of student services.
I'm Brooke Orner, I'm the director of communications. Danielle Bell, school board member.
Brad Boyd, school board member.
Thank you. So the floor is yours. I just ask that everybody, take turns and be respectful of one another, but the floor is open. Yes.
I see a camera. I'm Ember, by the way. I'm just a taxpayer. Nobody important. Is that camera videotaping or just audio?
We are audio recording. That's not our camera.
This gentleman is from Fox 59.
Fox 59, perfect. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. I guess I'll be the first speaker. My name is Brett. Obviously, I think we all know why we're here. We all saw the video.
Hey, Brad, I'm going to be the big mouth. Will you speak up so people say they can't hear you?
Yeah, I'll make sure my teacher voice.
There you go.
So, there's a lot of questions, and I think I'll just start with the pamphlet that we have, some of you don't have. About this video, they essentially had to lie, and I think they did that on purpose, because I don't believe that if they didn't lie, nobody would have given them the time of day. I just don't see why they would be taken seriously if they just came in truthfully and said what they are, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. Second, goes on to say, the doctor say those things, and about how supposedly there are hard cuts. I did see the Fox video, but I did go to the Accuracy and Media YouTube page to watch their full uncut, and there is a little bit more information. From what I remember, there is a second statement that Fox did not use that did have a cut in it, a hard cut, but I believe that it was pretty inconsequential. But again, I encourage everybody to go to the Accuracy and Media and watch their whole video. And they go on to say that they were spliced in between other school faculty members to create out of context type scenario, but I believe that the issue that we're dealing with is a systemic issue, so it is rightful to use other examples from other schools in the area. And then I've asked them as well to post their whole video, because that is a fair ask of them. They should have the full video for the communities, so they can, because there's no way that they didn't know that, of course, it was going to spur this conversation that we're having. But if we have cameras in all of the classrooms and rooms, that wouldn't be an issue. You would have that on hand, and you wouldn't have to ask anybody for it, which is something I wanted in all of the classrooms for a very long time. This, yeah, it goes with for the teacher and the student. The flying under the radar statement, that was a very complete sentence. I don't recall any hard cuts, and it's very hard for me to imagine any question that could change the meaning of what was said. They go on to say that we frequently use expression under the radar, but never suggest we're hiding things from parents or the community. They discuss with the curriculum and keep it within the community and not let it out. That is hiding. The white privilege walk. And what does that mean? And then the white privilege walk, and then they say, does Plainfield schools teach critical race theory? And then they say no, but you do a white privilege walk. How is that not CRT? I'm
I was
right.
at the last board meeting, and the lady over there said it was just a fun little question thing. It was just a fun little group thing that the teachers did.
Okay.
I've seen one of these white privilege walks, that's not what it is.
Is
All the
that,
blacks sit up on one line with the questions, and the whites sit up on another, and they tell one of them you have privilege. And they hear the questions to make it end up that way.
that's weird.
Yes, they do. I've seen several examples of it.
And it's come to my attention that it seems like every school has a faculty member on board whose sole purpose is to monitor how faculty members and students are treating each other based on race is kind of my rough idea of that. And other faculty members in other schools are saying this is like a work group, equity workshop type thing. That's not right. That's still CRT, and you don't want that. It's just ridiculous. The social emotional learning, you guys didn't say it how other schools have said it more plainly. They were more upfront about what SEL actually is. And it just shows that it's all about semantics and doublespeak. Politicians do it all the time. I don't believe that we're strangers to what that means. And it's not anything that says the truth. It's not your job to teach our kids how to treat other people. If a child is exhibiting behavior that is not normal, it first needs to be shown to the parents of that child, whether it's a sex issue, a gender issue, or anything. There is no handling it within the schools, referring it to a counselor. Like, these are all examples that have happened and have gotten out into the media and caused issues. Keeping it under the radar is very dangerous. I just can't really understand why that phrase would be used in any good way, period. Because that raises so many more questions that cannot be answered in just this short amount of time. Does that mean if a student comes in and they're confused with their gender, does that mean you will not tell the parent that this child wants to be transitioned? Will that mean the faculty members will secretly assist the student in progressing that path by supplying them information, possibly medication. This has all happened in other schools that I do not want in my children's lives, period. I know that there are people that choose to be gay, lesbian, all these other things. That's fine. That's your life. You choose it. But don't mix it with public education. You teach what needs to be taught, which I can't even say that anymore because this garbage is in the textbooks. I don't know what textbooks are used here because they lie too, apparently, by changing. Well, yeah, they don't come home, the books don't come home, but I do see, we can see the information online, but this is all compulsory learning, and it's a bigger issue that isn't just this school, it's all public schools in general. And that's pretty much it. I'm just disappointed. I was excited to bring my children to Plainfield schools for their first year because it's so far the nicest school they've been to. But I was still hesitant because I know this stuff seems to propagate in larger schools such as this. But I think we all know right from wrong. We all know what being secretive and hiding is. It's not that hard to just do the right thing. Is there anybody here that's gonna answer questions?
What's that gentleman's name?
Are you guys gonna do like, are you guys gonna?
We're happy to
I don't know
answer
what your plan is. Do you guys
questions.
wanna-
If you have questions, like, we'll answer
Okay,
them, but
that's
if you just wanna
statements
share
and
what you
all
wanna
that.
share,
Okay.
then, you know.
Okay, so before I get on, I did have a couple questions. First of all, thanks for putting out that statement about CRT and it not being taught in Plainfield. I think that was very transparent of you. But I do have a question. The question in the video is about diversity. Do we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion department? Anybody from the school board or administration, anybody knows? Do we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee?
Sounds like a yes.
No, we don't?
Well,
Do we have a diversity
No.
committee, an equity committee, or an
No.
inclusion committee, or a diversity, equity, and inclusion
no,
committee?
no,
And no department? And no one in any school building that's their specific job is to
No.
monitor those things?
no.
Okay, so the only thing we do teach is some SEL stuff.
Character eds, SEL, yes.
State
Yes.
standards.
Social emotional learning,
Standards,
SEL,
yeah,
like that's
Yeah.
what it's referred to in the video,
Yes.
okay.
yes.
So, one last thing before I say what I gotta say. In the last 12 months, are any of you aware of any LGBT pride or similar flags, banners, or other items being displayed in any manner in any school which a child can see it?
Yes.
Okay. Does Plainfield Community School Corporation have a policy that addresses whether teachers can display such items?
A policy. Oh, it's a policy, no.
Okay.
No,
Have any
not a
teachers
policy.
asked permission to have such items displayed? Okay. Has Plainfield Community School Board or administration requested any of the types of these items that have been displayed be taken down or removed in the last 12 months?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so, all right, I put it on paper this time, so I didn't get all excited and say things I shouldn't say. So I was here at the last board meeting. Any of you that heard this on the radio, I was the guy going nuts. I'm very happy to see this turnout. I don't care if you're on my side or you're not on my side. I'm happy to see this room packed out. Like, I don't care if you're on my side. I just care that you care about your kid and your situation, right? I presented some thoughts and some hard truths at the last board meeting. Well, never mind. There's no such thing as a hard truth. There's the truth. That's it. There's no hard truth. People's feelings get in the way, but there's only the truth. So during the last board meeting, we all agreed to stop and wait until after the meeting to let the business get conducted. And then we had a good conversation, hour and a half or so, maybe a little longer. That conversation was after most people left, the audio was turned off, the video was turned off, and the minutes were no longer being recorded, kind of under the radar, if you will. After the meeting, Mrs. Delvecchio had a chance to speak, Mr. Olinger had a chance to speak, our third superintendent. I'm sorry, sir, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I didn't want to murder it. does not, our third superintendent chose not to say anything during that portion of the discussion. As did 2 school board members remain silent during the entire time. Mr. Olinger dismissed the entire video and proceeded to paint Ms. Delvecchio as a victim. I'm not sure what world you're living in that someone who says those things on tape would constitute her being the victim. Interestingly enough, 2 other school corporations that are featured in the video thought that it was credible enough to take action. I sat and listened to you all anyway. I promised to rewatch the video in the context of deception and selective editing that you guys presented. I have to say I don't buy it. I absolutely don't buy it. I don't buy the deception you're selling. I don't buy that you're the victim at all. Sorry. There's not a situation where you could be giving answers that you gave to those questions in any manner in your position. I've sat and rewatched that video multiple times or multiple days. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. I really tried to watch it in your light. What I saw was someone sitting in a trusted position with our school corporation getting caught on video saying the quiet part out loud. There was no selective editing during your comments that I'm going to address. You sat there attentively listening to the question being presented and immediately gave a response. Your voice even softens as you say the things you undoubtedly know that you shouldn't be saying. The interviewer says, do y'all have an equity department or anything like that? And Ms. Delvecchio begins answering the question before the person asking the question even finishes. Your voices actually overlap for a minute there. So, I mean, that'd be some really good editing, but I know it can happen. Ms. Delvecchio proceeds to say, honestly, we had, what we decided to do is not call attention to it, because when you call attention to it, these questions are asked, and I really believe that you can do more good under the radar. So after that, there's a split in the video. He goes on to something else that really doesn't matter, and then we end up at the white privilege walk. I will tell you, from my point of view, the administrators, Ms. Ballinger gave, gentleman from Van Buren, sorry I forgot your name, they gave an explanation on the white privilege walk. I was actually okay with the explanation as it was presented, but I don't think that kind of training is productive for our teachers or is useful of their already limited time. But I was okay with your explanation. Seems like if you can find time to do an exercise on that garbage, you can find the time to teach kids and teachers more about finances and other practical everyday applications. Maybe we wouldn't have an entire generation out here crying about being hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a general studies degree and not being able to find qualified employment opportunities. The question presented has yet to be answered. Do you all have an equity department or anything like that? You did actually answer it a few minutes ago. Thank you. There's no such thing as equity in schools. There shouldn't be an equity department or training or anything of that sort. If an equal opportunity is presented, that is all we can hope for. Though I doubt these days equal opportunity is even being given when kids who don't need SEL or have IEPs have to sit and wait while a teacher handles an SEL student, or kids without SEL don't get the same one-on-one attention, or someone with IEP gets special circumstances, take tests or other classroom requirements. Don't get me wrong, there are kids that need that stuff, I get it. What I'm saying is they detract an awful lot of attention from the other children in the room, and y'all have to find a better way to deal with it. I'm telling you, I have watched a group of 24 kids in the imagination lab have 23 that have to sit there and do nothing while the teacher takes the student outside, or better yet, the student just walked out by himself and the teacher had to go chase after him, right? But the child has social emotional needs, so like everyone else just gets left behind, right? We gotta find a better way of dealing with that. Equity is a garbage social construct. Equity never works out equally because people don't put in equal amount of effort. Sacrifice, hard work, or several other things that determine actual results in real life and in the classroom. We see this work out every day in the school sports teams. 60 kids tried out for the middle school baseball team. 13 kids made the team, right? 13 kids had to put in, if you're gonna be one of those 13 kids, you had to put in more work, more sacrifice, more effort, more leadership. Your academic standards are higher for those 13 kids, right? That's not equity. You can't just put people in those positions. Equity in education we see all the time with via classroom grades, advanced placement, other things. Extra effort, extra sacrifice, more hard work. If equity in education is what you're after as a superintendent, and more specifically the person in charge of our curriculum, I think you should resign tonight. I don't think you should waste any time. If you don't want to resign, I think the board board should legally remove you via vote at the next board meeting, because that's how it works in Indiana, right? The board has to make an appointed agenda item, you have to take a vote publicly, right? And a simple majority rules, am I correct?
We are only responsible for the superintendent.
Assistant superintendent falls in the same category.
It
Indiana
does
code,
not,
right?
it's just the superintendent. The assistants fall under the superintendent.
Okay, all right. So anyway, they come back to Ms. Delvecchio later in the video, and there's not a lead-in question at all, it's just Ms. Delvecchio, and she says, we've had some teachers who put the red pride, and then she puts her hands up like in a manner to stop herself, and she says, the pride posters in the room, you know, so we just say, just be subtle. Then the video cuts to something else entirely. Again, what world are you living in that that's an okay question, okay answer to any question being asked? Right? At the last board meeting, you guys simply dismissed this as, you said you were talking about red pride. I just simply don't believe you. You started talking about red pride, you quickly stopped yourself and you diverted to pride. You dropped the red and restated pride again. But for 1 second, let's just entertain you were talking about red pride. Just for a second, let's entertain that. Why on earth would any teacher need to be subtle about that? That's our school motto. Like the whole school corporation, that's our motto, red pride. Why would anybody need to be subtle about it? We're like shouting it from the rooftops in K through 5. Pride, pride, pride in your school, pride in your friends, pride in everything, red pride. Why would they need to be subtle? There's one simple answer, Ms. Delvecchio. You were not talking about red pride. You were talking about actual pride and pride flags and posters, in this specific case to highlight and showcase the LGBT community. This is unacceptable. It should not be invited into our schools, and you shouldn't allow it to dwell here.
What grade level is that?
What grade level?
What grade level is this going on? Those questions, is it K through 12?
I was from posters. The posters that I know personally were at the high school level, they were not in the district. I don't have confirmation. I'm not gonna be one of those people that jumps to the conclusion.
Well, we don't know if it's high school level, that's all we know
Yeah,
for a fact.
I know for a fact.
So they can't
confirm they were seeing high school. So anyway,
Sir, I'm the principal of the high school. I'll gladly take you over there right now, let you walk through every room and find it.
I'm shutting it down now. All right.
I'm sure you will this week.
Yeah.
So I hear parents saying it's there, so parents, I would encourage you to have your kids take pictures.
Please do.
So anyway, any and every teacher who has a pride flag in their classroom should be fired and arrested, point blank. The gay flag is 100%. Listen, I don't care if you're gay in here. I didn't attack you if you're gay. Listen to what I said. The gay flag is 100% a sexual flag. It represents nothing other than sexual things. Gay, lesbian, and bisexual are all designations of a person's personal sexual preference. It has no place in our school, period. If I tell you right now, I'm straight as a man, I'm telling you that I only have sex with women, specifically my wife, who is in fact a woman. I'm not telling you anything else about myself, except my sexual preference. Nothing more, nothing less. Again, this is what pride flags reflect. And by allowing it, you're allowing teachers who are over the age of 18 to sexually advertise their preferences to use in our community that are not 18. By definition, that is grooming and pedophilia, and completely known from people in contact with Really quickly, I want to share a real life occurrence from when my son was in 2nd grade. He's a 7th grader right now. But there was a boy in the class in 2nd grade. Well, this was a fun conversation, by the way, for a 2nd grader. As a parent, this is something I should be talking about 2nd grade son about. Little boy routinely showing up in girls' clothing, girls' shirts, girls' pants, tutus, literally tutus, colors that would, 5 years later, I guess boys wear more pink than girls these days, it seems like. But back then, it was like, what's going on here? Tutus, everything. Back then, it was requested by the parent, with the teacher's support at that time, the school librarian order a book that would support this type of behavior, transgender specifically. The boy said he was a girl. Teacher, parent, we're trying to support this. Thank God, we had a librarian that stood up to this crap. She wouldn't order the stuff, and with a little bit of pushback, it all stalled out. Nothing happened. I would call this teacher, hero, librarian out by name, but it's likely they'd be singled out and not supported by this administration. There's been a history of that with this administration, well, at least 2 of you. and teachers via the SEL, and how discipline is handled. But anyway, as a side note, I would encourage the school board on your own time to take a survey of your teaching staff and see how well they feel supported by the current administration. I've received a lot of interesting texts and emails and phone calls since the board meeting. So anyway, these LGBT pride posters, not the red pride posters, are in fact within the classrooms of our school corporation's wall. I think sometimes teachers, administrators, school board, I think sometimes they forget the great people in this community are in our schools on a regular basis for sports, volunteering, listening, repairing HVAC, painting the walls, cleaning the windows, servicing the kitchen equipment, completing maintenance on. We have some great properties here. People have to come in and they've seen this stuff. People don't turn a blind eye to it, and people are not going to turn a blind eye to how you handle this. Again, Ms. Delvecchio, I think you should resign immediately. You brought undeserved light on our schools and community with your comments, and I think you are currently lying about the context of the video to save yourself.
So, did you not expect this turnout, or why was this room chosen?
Poor layout, very poor layout.
It feels like, well, answer first, please.
This is the way we always do our public forums like this. And so we put as many chairs up as we had. So
You didn't expect this many people?
I had no idea how many were gonna come. We've had these before where we thought there was gonna be big crowds and there haven't been.
Because what it feels like is, what this feels like, a lot of empty space with parents kept outside, out of the.
Come in and sit.
Feel
Come
like
in and
you're
sit.
being
We
lied
wanted,
to,
we
you
wanted,
feel like you cheated.
well, we wanted
That's
to
what it
make
feels
this
like.
where this was not a side. We wanted to make this a group, and that's why it was done like
If you
this.
showed up where you would know how it usually goes, I mean, I knew it was gonna be like this because I come to these.
Keeping parents out, you should have expected this kind of attendance, and you should have been able to bring all parents who wanted to participate into the room.
Ma'am, if you had been here before, I think you would know the normal format.
There's been a forum at the high school.
About tonight.
There has been a parent forum at the high school.
Okay. Quaker.
The fact that there's so many people here is an indicator, right there.
So,
Absolutely,
Yes,
I think.
absolutely.
so can I ask all the board members to stand up for a second? Because I have a question for the board members, but I want to know who you are. Is this every board member in the room? Okay, were any of the board members advised to hold this meeting in the high school auditorium?
I was not, no. It was, I wanted to have it it was my
I'm
decision.
just asking, were any board members advised to hold this meeting?
No.
Where are the other board members at? Because I'm looking for every board member to tell me no. Okay, were you advised? Okay, so I know for a fact that a board member was advised to hold this meeting in the auditorium. And I was also, that the board members were also advised to personally audio and video this live. I know that for a fact, so the board members are lying. Number one. So, and they were told this is an optics war. Let's pretend only 15 people show up. 15 people in the auditorium is gonna look better for you. But 200 people, or 15 people, or 40 people in this little room is gonna look really bad. So let me just put that out there. I know that a board member on our board was advised to hold this in the auditorium, whether it was middle school or high school. They were advised to hold it there and to video it. So there's a lie from our board. Mr. Olinger, I'm gonna ask you personally, if this was a teacher who made these comments, would that teacher have been suspended with or without pay, pending investigation? Mr. Olinger, let's play pretend that you had a teacher, no, let's play pretend that you had a teacher that talked to Bob Benning and made Bob Benning ruffle a few feathers. Would that teacher have been suspended with or without pay?
You need to reset on what you're asking.
You had a teacher, let's pretend that had to sit down with Bob Benton many years ago. Would that teacher, and he ruffled feathers, it wasn't even televised, but he ruffled feathers. Was that teacher suspended with or without pay?
I don't remember any teacher having a comment.
High school teacher.
I don't remember.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys that a high school teacher had a sit-down meeting with Bob Benton and was suspended because he ruffled feathers, and he was suspended by Mr. Olinger.
Brett is my son and my grandchildren go here. And I have just a couple what age does the Plainfield school system feel it's appropriate to address a sexual ideology for a child between K through 12?
Who's the question for, sir?
Anybody who wants to answer on the board.
That's a parent's decision.
I'm asking the board.
We don't take a stand, I mean, it's not something that the only thing we have, and I would ask Laura to explain, is when we have 5th grade, I think, 5th grade, when we do the sex education videos.
Yeah, fourth and fifth grade, we do the body,
we don't take a stance on,
the body talk.
Yeah,
But we
that's
don't
it.
take a stance, there's no education, there's no about
Why are there
LGBTQ.
pride sexual, basically LGBT is a choice. I mean, we can go into the discussion of whether you are or you aren't, you're born that way and all those things. The bottom line is, in most cases, or in many cases, I graduated from your arch nemesis, Greenwood, by the way. So, and I didn't beat you in football. But anyway, what I really feel is happening, when I graduated high school, I didn't even know what a homosexual was. It wasn't a topic that was being taught in the classroom. We didn't have flags flying around school, putting out controversial thoughts and minds that just doesn't even belong there. Now, my concern is, you know, when this child or when this comes to the school systems, and the school systems stand there and they say, well, we need to get in, and I'm not saying Plainfield's doing this, don't misunderstand me, but we need to get into the puberty blockers and the different drugs that are being applied to that child's life, that they have no idea the consequence through their, you know, their growth process of what those drugs do to their development. And we see these things happening all around us. These parents are concerned about this stuff. I never thought I'd be standing here talking like this, ever. And there's only probably a handful in here that didn't meet T-Rex with me. So, you know, we have to look at the things of what really important, what really matters is the math, the English, history. I looked at my son's, he graduated, he's 26 now. I looked at his history book. It didn't make a quarter of mine. And I'm going, what in the world's going on here? You know, I've seen so many different things, and we're so worried about race. Okay, I got a question just for the board members. How many races are on this earth?
One.
Amen. Damn right.
Okay? One. Now, we have all kinds of ethnicities. We have bloodlines. We have everything that's going on. You know, if we started worrying more about, instead of melatonin content, and we started looking at laminin content, if you don't know what it is, look it up. If we start focusing on those kinds of things, if we start teaching the children the real things that matter, and not some ideology that's completely confusing the child, whether they think they're a boy or a girl. I think at one point I wanted to be a G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip. So that doesn't mean anything. And if this child can come into the school systems or anywhere, like again, not just Plainfield, come in here and say they have this desire or this thought. Well, what if they want to come in and be in the Army? Are you going to give them a gun and send them out the door? Are you going to make a decision on this child and their gender and completely mutilate their life, that they don't even get a chance to be a child? The problem is we're not letting children be children as long as they want to be children until it comes to the point to where you start doing things. At my age, my dad, I told him, you know what? I'd like to have a swing tour bicycle. I was 12 years old. I was going to ride football practice. He goes, that's amazing. You know what? Just so happens when you start asking for stuff, you can start earning it. And that's what happened. He said, my responsibility is here, and when you want to do those things, then you start doing and you start chipping in and you start making sure you're doing what you need to be done, learn the value of the dollar, whatever that is now, and go from there. It's not, it's, you know, we've come off the rails with all this nonsense about race. I've been trying to put race behind me, you know, for my whole life. I was in the Navy and I heard all this racial stuff and I'm like, what in the world's going on? I've never in my family did anybody ever say anything racially deterrent towards any other ethnicity, is what I should say, at all. Why are we doing this? Why do I think? I think the government's afraid that the whites, the blacks, the Asians, every minority out there, all of a sudden wake up and come together and say, you know what, we don't like the government so much anymore. That's what I think. I think that's where we need to be. If you've got to keep things under the radar, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to me and everyone else in this room. There's nothing under the radar in a public school system. Not one thing.
Good evening, my name is Harrison Woodruff, and I graduated from Plainfield last year. I graduated top 20 summa cum laude and as a National Merit Scholar, and I'm currently a freshman in finance at Purdue University. Yeah.
Go Boilers!
If you know anybody that knows me, they'll tell you that I stand up for what's right. And what's happening in this community is not right, and I'm here to set some things straight. During my time at Plainfield schools, I took part in every facet of the experience. I ran cross country in middle school, participated in marching band in high school, was inducted into National Honor Society, and took advanced placements and dual credit classes throughout high school. These college-level English, history, and social science classes were the perfect opportunity to indoctrinate students with critical race theory. I was the perfect target for any liberal teacher wanting to leave a mark, conditioning me for liberal university. But they didn't. Not a single teacher ever brought up critical race theory or anything that can be interpreted as that. Plainfield courses at the high school and college level taught the facts and left the rest up to us as individuals to interpret. I was never taught how to feel. I was never taught to feel bad for who I am. What I experienced instead was a rigorous and challenging curriculum that emphasized critical thinking, analytical skills, and independent thought. I was encouraged to explore different perspectives, to ask questions, and to think for myself. I often disagreed with my classmates and instructors. This debate was not only allowed, but openly encouraged. My teachers challenged me to be the best version of myself and to strive for excellence in everything I did. My education was full of support, encouragement, and outstanding instruction that we come to expect at Plainfield. The administration has done an amazing job empowering school staff to assist us however they can. That's why what's happening in this community is incredibly disappointing. I'm seeing members of my community take part in a tribe mentality, us against them. These people care about our students. My classmates and myself wouldn't have had such an incredible experience at Plainfield without them. If you're concerned about what your child may be learning, talk to them about it. If you foster a home culture of open discussion and free speech, your children will have plenty to talk about. Nothing being taught is a secret. Students come home every day and talk about what they learned in school. Curriculum is available to anyone who asks. Taking an active role in your child's education can help steer them on the right track and make sure that they're learning the material as well. I know that I am one of maybe a handful of people in this room that has recently graduated from Plainfield, has been through the school system. So I've experienced K through 12 at Plainfield. And I think that gives me a unique perspective into this issue as someone who has not experienced some of these things that are being talked about. Thank you.
I got a few more questions and comments from anybody that can answer it. During the last school board meeting, you said you were highly advised or pressured by the state to start looking into CRT. That was exact words, what you said. And who was the person at the state advising you to do these things? There had to be a signature on the letterhead, or the email had been emailed from somebody at the Department of Education. Who was that person that sent you the advisement to introduce this to our kids?
Is that the question? Is that the question?
It's a question for whoever can answer it.
I am Kylie Federer, I'm the principal at the middle school, and I don't recall that being the question or the comment. There was never anything specifically said about CRT. What we did talk about was back in 2021 conversations about SEL. And SEL, for most of
So
you.
answer the question, who is the person at the Department of Education that told you to do these things?
I'm trying to get there because
Just say the
She
name.
said
I don't
the
need all the
white-
word salad, I just need the name.
There's not a name, so part of our Indiana standards there are, standards or competencies that, are given to us, academic development, career development, social emotional learning, and for most people, the.
Well, who sent that to you? There's
The
gotta be a
Department of
person.
Education.
No, the last
At the
meeting.
Department of Education, she said you were advised by the state
To do the
to
white
introduce
law, she said, that's what she
CRT.
said, yes, she did.
That's why you practice doing the white privilege walk.
Because you were,
She
said
jumped
that
up
was
and
yes, she
defended
did.
the whole
So
thing.
she will talk. She will talk.
So
So,
I would be happy,
She's not asking
I don't know.
I don't need a word salad, I need to know who
I don't
sent you
know.
that recommendation.
It's
Just the DOE,
It's
that's
the
it.
Indian,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I can just call the DOE and that should be answering my question.
I
Because
can
you
send
obviously
them to
can't.
tonight. I would be happy.
All right. What if a teacher is reported for teaching CRT, SEL, what DO, I don't care what you call it. If somebody, my kid comes home, or like her second grade grandson came home and was ashamed to be white. Now, that teacher should be reprimanded. Either a verbal warning, written warning, suspension. I don't know how you go about it with teachers, but that little boy, I mean, I'll never forget her saying that to me. Her little white boy, second grade, come home, was ashamed to be white because what his teacher told him. Now, what is the process for disciplining that teacher? Do you have anything set up for that?
We have a process with anything. If there's ever a concern, it starts with the building principal. If it's not settled there, it moves to the administration, and then if it needs to, then it goes
Well, how do you
beyond that.
advise you get the name of that teacher from her before she
It has
leaves
to
the
start
home?
it starts with the parent talking to the principal. That's the
Alright.
process.
Sandy, didn't you address this with the principal?
Yes, I did.
And what happened after that?
Well, it wasn't, I mean, I felt like I was ringed, I was attacked.
By the principal?
Yep.
And did you take it farther after that?
I sent an email, to Mr. Olinger and told him that I wouldn't speak to the teacher again, under those circumstances. I don't even remember, I mean, I still got the email, but no, and then nothing was ever done.
So that teacher is still teaching and has not been reprimanded?
I have no idea, as far as I know.
Well, I'd highly advise you get that teacher's name and talk to him or her, because that's inappropriate, okay? You cannot have a class on reverse racism. You can't get rid of racism, okay? You never will, in our lifetime, get rid of racism. It's just a natural human thing. And some people have it, some people don't. When I was here before, I said I grew up in the South, okay? I guess it's fine, I can just have my kids bring rebel flags to school and hang them on the wall, right? No, it's not. You just don't do that. You don't hang up your sex flags on the wall. I'm from Hawaii too, I want my rainbow back. You know?
Rainbow Warriors.
You know, that used to be our state motto, was the rainbow. Now it has something to do with sex, which is gross, you know? But anyway, if CRT, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you're hoisting our youth with, is so good, why do people hide it? If I was proud of something, this is the greatest thing on the planet. I'd be out, yeah, this is the greatest class on the planet, we should all take it. But no, everybody that teaches it hides it. You don't hide something that's good. You put it out there and you introduce it to the public. You say, this is the best training your kid can ever have. Please let them, get involved in it. But no, everybody hides it. It's all over TV, it's on the newspapers, it's on the radio. Thanks, Rob Kendall. And why hide it? If it's so good, why would you hide it?
We don't teach it. We don't teach
Second
it.
grade
If there are
grandson came home and
there are
ashamed to be white.
if there are
I don't want to hear
individual
from you. I want to hear
examples,
from other people. You're the only one that balls and enough to talk right now.
I would like to add something.
Figuratively.
So, I'm Nicole. I volunteer at school. I probably volunteer at school more than any person in this whole room. I have an elementary student who is in second grade. I've been in our school in the last 6 weeks. I've been in every single classroom helping. The teachers aren't hiding things. If you want to know what's going on, you can look in textbooks. You can see, I know exactly what's happening with my middle schooler.
So because it's on the curriculum, I'm supposed to believe that's what that teachers teach us. There's teachers all over the place saying, I'll teach it anyway. We see it every day. Who hasn't seen a video of a teacher saying, we're going to teach this anyway, no matter what the parents say, no matter what the curriculum says, no matter what you say, they're still out there teaching it.
Was it here? Was it here? That's what we have. We have Plainfield. That's what we are.
Okay, you can wait your turn like I did.
It's a conversation, sir. It's a conversation. You've been speaking for a while. Let her speak.
Yeah, I've got my turn. I did my turn. Hey, I waited patiently just like everybody else did. Ladies and gentlemen,
You're adults.
Be nice about it.
We are adults.
I'm being nice.
I'm gonna tell you right now, your kids behave a lot better than you do. So let's behave like adults. We've been listening to you. If you have more to say, we also have everybody in the room wants to talk, they can do it. But
Why are you hiding it?
I'm not being condescending, I'm being flat out honest.
No, you did. You took a pot shot at the parents, Scott. That's not needed from a 25-year school.
Folks, let's bring the levels down. Come on, bring the levels down.
Yeah.
Compliment our kids are not well behaved for you guys, so thank you for calling us that.
Okay, my last thing to say, you can't stop racism. You definitely can't have a class to keep people from being racist. It's just, some things are inbred. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like I said, I grew up in the South. It was inbred. You're racist. I mean, the only way to get rid of racism is life experience. Learning that it's a stupid emotion, just like jealousy. Jealousy and racism, two wasted emotions that humans will never get rid of. But, you know, we have to be adults all together, but we will protect our kids no matter what. Okay? So if I get emotional, I'm very emotional. Okay? You'll never stop hunger. You'll never stop addiction. Okay? You'll never stop climate change. These are things you just have to accept. Okay? We can help. We can do little things along the way to make it better, but you're never going to stop these things. Okay? Thanks for listening. Aloha.
I just want to finish adding that you all have great and amazing kids, and our teachers aren't hiding things. They're not teaching whatever you're here tonight thinking they're teaching, but what they do teach your kids is how to be kind, and they teach them how to be a good friend, and they teach them how to be reliable and responsible, and they teach them all the things that I want to teach my kids at home, and I'm grateful that that's reinforced at school. And I'm really glad my kids go to Plainfield schools, and they're not hiding things and teaching things that you're here tonight thinking that they're doing. And that's from firsthand personal experience in all of the classrooms at the school my kid goes to. I don't know about
Just short and sweet, I don't know how to say it well, but I'm not making any accusations, I'm not assuming or anything, but I was also taken off guard a little bit about these flags. I think these are minors, they're children. I don't care if it's a heterosexual flag, a homosexual flag, a transsexual, bisexual, I don't care what kind of sexual flag, I don't think it belongs in classrooms. I think it's inappropriate, especially for minors, from adults to minors. Gay people can be great teachers. Straight people can be great teachers. A lot of people can be great teachers. I don't have anything against them as teachers at all. They can be great. But promoting anything sexual to our youth, it hit me hard. It just felt wrong. Like, if I was to take a child under my care, or even a child doesn't belong to me, it's not my family, and I was to display these things or promote these things or openly talk about who I'd like to have sex with or my sexual preferences, I feel I would be wrong about that, especially if it's a 14-year-old or something like that. I feel like that would be wrong. So I just ask that these sexual, no matter what orientation, these straight, whatever, I don't care. These flags and this material be removed from the classrooms in the schools. That's all.
I got one question. Where are the heterosexual flags hung?
So would you be offended then for a teacher being pregnant? Because obviously she had sex, so that's bringing sex to the classroom. No, I'm wanting to No, I want to honestly, I want you to tell me. How's that?
I'm sorry, I can't even take receipts.
I have a question. You said in here that, you requested, oh, by the way, my name is Robin. I have kids in the school system, but high school and middle school. And that you requested the full video. I don't know which one of you can answer this, but how did you request the video?
Where's Brick?
It was the email. I guessed at an email address, but I also used their contact us form on their website, and have not received a response.
Did you not think of, like, I don't know, maybe a subpoena? Was it not important enough for you to prove to us parents that what was being said was taken out of context? The burden of proof is not on us.
Right.
It's on you.
We don't get subpoenaed.
The school corporation does, yes, they do. You guys have attorneys, you told us that in previous meetings.
We don't legally have subpoena power.
Could you not submit a FOIA? Is that?
Not to a non-governmental agency.
FOIAs are for
You can
government
hire your attorney for defamation and libel.
Right. So,
May I answer his question?
no, I got the answer. I did not know that, so I appreciate that. So we can submit a FOIA to
Freedom of
you.
information request, those are for government agencies, not private companies or organizations.
Right, so, but nobody think it was important enough to work a little harder other than an email?
Well, we can
Prove
start
to us
with an
parents?
email, and if they don't, I mean, it's again,
Okay,
a
you've
step
had how many
process,
weeks?
so.
2?
It's been a week and I mean, it was a week ago Wednesday that we just found out that they
I
were
mean,
releasing
I've
it,
seen
so.
less things happen in 24 hours, or more things happen in 24 hours. All I request is that the burden of proof is on you, and you wanna tell us that it's being taken out of context and that we're not right, then I think you need to prove that you're not right, or that you are right.
I will answer that politely. I did see a request where someone else in the community had requested a video.
Yes.
And they said if districts act kindly and not demand it, that they would release it to us. So at this point, it's just an email. Next step possibly would be an attorney.
Right, so are we gonna do that? Is that where it's gonna go forward? Because this doesn't end. I mean, we're not gonna sit here and be told that it was taken out of context. You're not gonna be able to convince probably most of us. I mean, because like most have already said, it's hard to say that under the radar was taken out of context. White privilege was very well stated. I mean, I get it, things can happen, but I feel like that tonight we should have came here and been able to have proof, at least proof that you're trying. And I'm sorry, an email doesn't have it.
Wait, Laura, can you comment on those things? Can you comment? Like hearing, none of us have heard from you, even previous meeting, right? So like, can you comment?
Well, the board meeting, people heard from me, and then I've been in the community answering questions as well.
Obviously, just with all due respect, everyone is here because of words that you said.
Right.
You have an army of people to talk for you.
Right.
While you sit in the corner. You haven't said anything that any of us have actually heard.
Right.
So, you know, because you were there,
Right.
she walked in to do an interview with you.
Let's start there.
Okay,
It was not an
let's
interview.
start somewhere. Yeah.
So it was not an interview.
Okay.
What it was is a woman came in pretending to be from Texas, saying that she was shopping, moving to the area to support her parents. This happens all the time. People come in, they want to know that the school district is where they want to send their children. I've been here 13 years. I have promoted this school district. All the curriculum that most of your kids are experiencing, whether it's from Little Quaker Academy, from the Imagination Lab, from middle school, high school, I've been a part of those decisions. I'm not the only decision maker, but I am a part of those decisions. And so people move here for this school district. I didn't just get here 6 months ago, I got here 13 years ago.
But again,
you're gonna let me talk.
You want her to speak, she's speaking. She's speaking.
If you want to hear what she wants, this is what you want. You want to hear from Laura, so please let her talk.
She's gonna come in the middle. But that doesn't supposed to be disrespect. That was disrespectful.
Okay, but I'm being attacked. My person.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
whole room is here to attack.
If you don't want to be attacked by people
Okay, so she walked in, and the secretary said, "Do you have time to talk to this mom about curriculum?" Sure, come on in. That's it. So we sat down. I did not know I was being recorded. I did not know where the questions were going to go. She stated that she was moving from Texas. She was very frustrated with the education system in Texas, and she wanted to know if things in Plainfield would be different. I have been trying to remember all the conversations because it was 4 months ago. So I know, like, I'm just going to kind of go by the bullets that the key words under the radar, what she asked me was, in Texas, board meetings are very contentious. And so, you know, what happens here in Plainfield? Is there a big crowd? And honestly, we don't have big board meetings. Like, we don't have a big media circus at our board meetings like other districts do. We work hard. We work hard for your children. We work hard for this district. And so, our issues stay under the radar. That's kind of how that comment came up.
It's not even the same answer you gave at the board meeting, ma'am.
When?
Not even the same description you gave at the board meeting, just so you know.
Yes. Okay. So then, we talked about she kept asking about the DEI committee, and I said, we don't have a committee. 3 years ago, and I had to look it up. I couldn't remember when we did some of those activities to determine if we needed a diversity and equity team. And I did. I said white privilege walk. I did. I didn't mean to say it in terms of that's not what it was, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. It was one of the activities that were suggested to do so that you, as teachers, could understand the different walks of life that kids come to you with, and who's sitting in front of your classroom. And some of our kids come from very different situations, very hard situations. And so the walk was just to understand as adults experiences that we've had in life that may be different from our students. That's all that walk was. It was part of some of the suggested activities. The principals led it. It was an activity that we did one day as a professional learning activity.
I wasn't here for that answer. What is that? I don't understand what you guys did.
Where's Tracy? She described it perfectly, better than I could.
What is it?
So, all it is, and if you break it down to its core, it is an exercise to help a person step back from their life experience and see a different perspective.
Well, what did you do?
Why is it called
Why
white?
is it called
It's not. I was my mistake. It is not called white privilege walk.
for this specific activity with our kids?
No.
This was adults.
Just the adults.
So what did you do specifically?
We were in a professional development day. We had been doing many other activities during that day, and this was one small portion of that day. We stood in a row, and we had somebody read statements, and you either stepped forward or stepped back, depending on what the statement was. And that was it.
What I was just mentioning is a deep dive into the curriculum. In that context, that's not professional development. She said it would be a deep dive into the curriculum, and that's when the white privilege walk happened. I can pull the video up right now.
And like that, I don't know how those words.
That's not professional development. That's what the children are being taught. So is this being incorporated into? Is this being put in the teacher's mindset so it can be incorporated under the radar, or why was it mentioned in the context of the curriculum?
It was not. It was not. It appears in the video that it was, but she kept asking, what DEI activities did you do? And the white privilege walk came to mind. I was wrong. That's not what it was called. And she kept reframing her question. And she talked about curriculum, and we had just finished science curriculum. I don't know if anyone was just on the science committee. And we had parents, and so that was fresh in my mind that we have a rubric when we're adopting curriculum, when we're looking at different resources, that we have a rubric. So I was talking about that one of the parts of the rubric are all children represented in the curriculum. That's just part of the rubric that comes with it.
What were some of the questions in the white privilege law?
It was, if you relied on public transportation, take 2 steps forward. If you ever had to go to a homeless shelter, take a step backwards. There was like a whole list of.
What's that got to do with color?
doesn't. It's
It
really
doesn't, that was my
obvious.
mistake, I should have never said the word white.
I've ridden public
Yeah,
transportation.
no,
I do the whole-
yes, right, that was just, it's a list of
If
activities.
I can come back, what we were talking about in the context of that professional development day was trying to understand your students, our students of the district better, and to understand different perspectives, different ways of growing up that we experienced. Because that's the only way that you are able then to see a different way. And so these questions were just to ask. I had never thought about that question of public transportation, and I hope that some of you who were here today were also impacted by thinking about things in a way that you hadn't thought about them before. We were with adults, we were just trying to understand better the community that we're from.
Sorry.
Hold on a second. Let's be clear about one thing. That is not this administration's job. That is not the teacher's job. That is our job at home, to have those discussions with our kids. That way of thinking should not be as a part of the way our teachers think and how they approach their classroom. All right? 2 + 2 = 4. What happened in 1776, that is your job. We will take care of everything else. That's our job. Okay? And I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a real quick question for Ms. Del Vecchio. On this piece of paper, I'm not going to talk about the video. I'm not going to talk about anything other than what's on this piece of paper.
Someone else talking.
On the 7th bullet point, does Plainfield Schools teach CRT? The answer is plainly no. 2 follow-up questions. Why was the administration given a book to read called White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo? And then follow-up question, why was Jen Bigelow brought into the school for in-service to talk about DEI training?
She's she's a social worker, I don't know who asked that. She's a social worker at the middle school. She's one of our employees. The first question, white fragility. So again, these were suggested activities in order that it was suggested by the Department of Ed. It was the talk back 3-4 years ago in order to really look at, are you fully exclusive? Are you inclusive? Are you making sure that all kids are welcomed and part of your environment? And that was one of the book titles. That some schools did, not everybody did. Some schools had their teachers read that book, just as a book conversation.
Yeah.
What?
What if it was called Black Fragility? We want to be inclusive.
Right. This was just a book that was.
It's not my question, man. What if it was called Black Fragility?
I guess we could read that as well. Yes.
This is where I'm concerned, because as a person of color that has a daughter of color, this is the least thing I want her to worry about.
Right.
At all. I would never want her to feel like she's less than any of her students. Like this complete board, I will say that, because I do think you're lying. I'm with the gentleman that would also call for your resignation, or however they would continue to handle that. Because how am I supposed to know that that's true? You can't even really explain that away.
I too want to point out, okay, when you didn't know you were being videotaped, white privilege came out of your mouth. Now that we're here in front of everybody, you're saying, that was my mistake. I am raising 2 boys who are white boys. They're gonna grow up in this world, and I don't for a second want them to think that they're less than because they're white, or they're better than because they're white. Like in any form of the way, and that is also why my kids are not going here, because I don't want any of that. I don't want sneakiness, nothing. I want to know what they're being taught, and I do, because me and a group of people get to teach them. So.
My question is, one of the quotes, and I'm quoting you, we decided to not call attention to it because of election rules. What was that in reference to?
So it was, if I can recall, there was questions about DEI, changing your curriculum. There was about SEL, changing your curriculum. And again, we haven't changed our curriculum. We just teach what the standards are, and we get it done with our teachers doing what they need to do in their classrooms.
Do you understand how arrogant that sounds, though? That
Yeah.
You decided to not mention it so that we didn't ask questions, as if
Yeah.
we don't have the right to know anything.
No, I'm very aware how it came across. It just, some of our curriculum, we're following the standards.
So, but, okay, so follow
It's a
the
low bar.
standards and say that.
Right.
Why do we say that?
So part of our
We decided not
standards
to
is
follow it.
SEL, and
Which is a Trojan horse to CRT.
I'm gonna disagree with that, SEL. It's irrelevant, see, the curriculum, all of this is irrelevant, it doesn't matter if you agree with it or don't
Right.
agree with it. The fact that you are purposely misleading and keeping things from the parents, that's the problem. That is the problem. To exclude the parents from their own child's curriculum. You don't get to do that. And it's extremely arrogant to act like you do.
She's never been held accountable before.
Well, it's amazing to me. And then the stance that you guys took here was like, we didn't have any reason to be concerned. Oh, well, it's just some fringe company that, you know, they didn't release the full video. And then we find out, well, you sent an email. An attorney, you can't subpoena, but an attorney could have sent it. I mean, if I was trying to prove my innocence, I'd have been all over this. I've been screaming from the rooftops, oh my God, they framed me for this. But that's not what happened. I mean, you guys knew how upset everybody was. I don't understand. Here's why we're upset. If CRT or any tenets of CRT is being taught, and from personal experience, I have one grandson that's mixed race. One grandson that's white. And I promise you, the person that tells my mixed grandson that he's oppressed and my white grandson that he's an oppressor are gonna pay hell with it. Okay, that's why. Nobody here wants this taught, but it's not about the teachers. People are conflating this like we're attacking teachers. We're not. This is about you. You said this. And you are the higher level. And all you can say is, well, I mean, I don't know, they took it out of context, and this was about this, and this was... There's no context that makes this okay. We decided not to call attention to it because questions will be asked. Unless you're saying that they spliced words together and make that sentence for you. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the whole thing was taken out of context.
Oh, okay, so did they
But those are my
splice-
words.
did
They are my
splice
words,
together
and
make
that's
that
the way that it is presented.
Would you have answered differently if she told you what she was there for? And she told you you were recorded? Would you have answered differently? Absolutely. She would not take a hit or I'm being serious, because you keep saying you didn't know you, and I respect
I don't
that.
know if I would answer it any differently, because our community, we are not a media circus. I mean, we do get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't stand up because my son
But
did a
there's-
wrestling move on my hip, so my hip hurts. But I'm also raising two boys, and they can't help the fact that they were born white male any more than any of the other colors can. But I don't want my sons to grow up thinking that they're privileged when they're not. They have to earn it just like anybody else. I expect nothing less and nothing more for them. So it kind of is upsetting. I've dealt with Marisa, I've dealt with Colleen. We had an issue with some black kids being mean to my old group of white boys, and I thought they handled it very, very well. They called me, they notified me, we talked through it. They told me they couldn't use the other kids' names, and it was great. And I guess I was naive to think that that's the way it was handled, but then we see this video, and you're teaching my son, or trying to teach your teachers to teach my son that he's privileged just because he's white, and that's not okay.
I would just ask that people use their personal experiences to be what they think about and how, and not everything resolves, and not everything resolves to make everybody happy. I mean, it just doesn't. We have a diverse, student population, a lot of different opinions on how things should be handled. As a school system, and I've been on the board now, this is the start of my third term. And I don't want to, this dead horse we keep beating, but under the radar is something that we've been talking about before. Again, it just says we focus on teaching our kids, we focus on meeting standards, we focus on doing what needs to be done in a classroom, because we don't like the stuff that's, where the schools are getting pulled into media and being,
Ma'am, with all due respect, this is also a community of accountability.
I agree.
So in this community, we believe in accountability. I've been quietly sitting back and listening, and I hear a presumption of forgiveness. That's what I hear.
I know.
And that's unacceptable. There needs to be accountability, especially when things are going along the lines of equity. Okay, it's not just a matter of an opinion. Can the school board members, the school board, please raise your hand? I just want to prove a point here. Did each of you take an oath to the Constitution?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then that means that you are to support and defend equality and protection of the law. You cannot teach equity and maintain your oath. It's that simple. And I can tell you that because I'm a veteran myself. I took the same oath.
We actually take a different oath because not only do we.
No, you take an oath to support and defend the Constitution. I read it.
May I clarify? We take
Sure.
an oath to support the Constitution. We take an oath to support the Constitution of the state of Indiana.
Correct.
We take the oath to support the Indiana Code, which is Indiana's law.
Correct. Correct. So any code, statute that violates the Constitution is null and void, correct? Correct. Okay, so equality and equal protection of the law. It's an important constitutional principle. You as school board members are obligated to follow it. If you do not, that is a violation of the Constitution. You can be held accountable for that. And I will tell all the parents here, I will hold them accountable.
I'm Dave. I have a son that goes to Plainfield. I'm also the moderator and creator of Plainfield Uncensored. I want to say first to all the teachers I've experienced, you've all been great. My son loves Plainfield. I haven't heard because I've asked, especially the video that came out. I've asked him every day, and I've asked him to look for examples. He's come back and he said he hasn't seen anything, and he's not talking, and that makes me happy. You, I don't trust, and I think you lie. And I devoted that group to get you out of here, and we are going to get you out of here because there's no accountability.
My name is Philip Clay, and I'm actually here on behalf of State Representative Craig Haggard. I've got a couple things to say about this too.
What district is he representing?
52nd, so it's Guilford Township and Johnson County, Morgan County. Representative Haggard wishes he could be here tonight. He's unable to attend due to a scheduling conflict with the General Assembly. He is aware of the situation being discussed tonight. He learned, like most of us, watching the national news. He's asking for transparency and clarity for those involved. Because he can't be here tonight, he'd like to host an open meeting in May to discuss issues such as these that are important to the community. I've got some forms and some cards. If you guys want to give me your emails and take some cards, we'll get you the date and location of that. Much like my guy over here that spoke earlier, I'm a Plainfield grad. I think the last time I saw some of you, I was calling you Mr. and Mrs., so it's innocent. I hope you guys are doing well. I spent most of my time at Plainfield trying to figure out how to be enough. Try to be white enough, try to be black enough, try to be a good enough student, try to curse Mr. Ollinger enough for not calling enough snow days, try to get Mr. Goldsberry to not give me enough, Saturday schools when I probably deserve them. Trying to learn how to be an adult. I've grown up in this community, and I've seen its good and its bad, and I've seen that we've tried to keep a lot of things out of the news, and I understand what you meant by under the radar. In a time like this, we all crave transparency, and we don't have transparency from this administration. It's frustrating, it's maddening, and we can talk about diversity. We have diversity among our students, but I remember interviewing for the school board, which I thought was a little curious that we had an interview with the superintendent before we actually sat with the school board, because like, so I understood the school board elects or appoints the superintendent, but that's besides the point. To me, this is a community of values. It's a community that I was very proud to grow up in, to say I'm from Plainfield, to wear it as a badge of honor. If red pride had been replaced with white pride, would we still be having this conversation? If you had let white pride slip, or just, pride flags? I'm of the opinion that, special fountains lead to special seats on the bus, and then everything that all the people that I hold dear, like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, it's for nothing. You can't have equal opportunity and equal outcome, and I'm a product of that. There's classmates of mine that aren't living today because of drug issues that we swept under the rug completely. We didn't talk about, we didn't fight for it. I'm here today because I chose to make good decisions, and I hope that many of you are here because of the same reason. I made good decisions. I'm proud to say that I'm from Plainfield. I hope that in 10 years, I can say the same thing for my son. I hope my son wants to go to Plainfield, because we're gonna be transparent with him. Thank you.
Something I'm really disappointed in tonight is our town board is not here. There may be one member. The superintendent reports to the town board. School board. Okay, but they still should be here, know what's going on, and I'm really disappointed. I think we all owe it to go and meet in the next town board meeting. They should hear everything that's going on here.
What's going on right now?
Sir, there was a council meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. And they were all invited.
That's pretty convenient for Plainfield schedule that when there's a lot of events tonight.
Can I get some context to this video real quick? I don't know if I can. But I keep hearing that we request a video, we can't get it. I keep hearing this. I just gotta read you this, just so you know. At 4:09 p.m. on Friday, after the school board meeting on Thursday night, I emailed their general info line the same as Brooke did. info@aim.org at 4:09. At 4:12, the president of Accuracy in Media, Adam Yet, I think that's how you pronounce it, replied to me and left me his personal cell phone number. I didn't try, I just got it. And we continued to dialogue for 25 minutes back and forth via email. I just want to put some context to it. We reached out and that we haven't heard back. Maybe that's how you reached out.
There's another email from another parent here.
So, yeah, I reached out too because I really did want to leave you. I just felt like I just needed to find out myself. So
Can you stand up, please, so we can hear you better?
I really did want to leave you, and I do want to leave you. I just felt like this administration should have reached out to them just to see. And I reached out too, and I got a response too. And he said that he has given 2 other school districts their video. And that Plainfield hasn't requested one, and I have his personal email. And it's hard to spell. Maybe he's lying. I don't know. I want to leave you. I feel like we needed to take the time to get this video.
She can get answers from him.
She can bring up her email.
Does she have the video?
I have the email, and I did print it out. So, if anyone else wants to reach out to him, it's adam@aimg or aim.org. And he responded to me pretty quickly.
Did you guys ask for the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
And what they said?
he has to release it to the schools.
He told me that the whole video would be released unedited at a later time. He was giving the school council address. The only thing they were gonna edit out was their tactics to actually get in the room because they don't want other schools on like tennis going on.
My biggest question is, why didn't you respond to Fox News, where if it's a lie, why would you ever even allow this to continue? Why wouldn't you personally, because they're looking for you, and they tell you at the end of the video, well, hey, nobody's responded. Where's that response? Because they're asking you to respond to it. Why didn't you?
We put out a statement and then we emailed.
So what I asked you, why didn't you respond to Fox News? You can go on there just like anybody else and call them a liar. Okay? You've answered that question.
There's sometimes where you have to do it the way that is more productive, and arguing with Fox News probably is not going to be a productive outcome.
I didn't ask you to argue with them. I asked you to address it.
All you do is you say your piece, and if they don't agree with it, you just say, okay, that's your opinion.
At least we get to see it.
Well, you're representing our community. You can represent it how you feel is proper in that moment. Nobody can make you say anything. It's all on you. Whatever questions they ask, they're asking it to whoever is representing the Plainfield community. And I would hope that somebody will go there and be honest and say, actually, I don't agree with how they did the interview when she came and speak to me. and then explain from there and create a dialogue. It doesn't have to be an argument. That's just what a bad conversation leads to if you're led on. It seems like anytime it gets close to an actual answer, it's referred to, it's an issue of standards, or we were referred to do this by some higher power. So it's really not on us. It's what we're supposed to do based on our standards or what was referred. If I tell you that, or I refer you to go jump off a cliff, are you just gonna go do it? You're probably gonna think about it and say, that's probably not a good idea. Just because you told me to do it, I'm probably gonna die. I don't think I'm gonna do it.
If this was a potential parent, you know, and you're selling, quote unquote, selling, the school district to this parent, why didn't you turn to those values printed on the wall? Why didn't you turn the conversation to that, but you went right into that trap of the white privilege?
No, there was a portion of the video about SEL, and I did talk about our community of values and that we focus most of our.
There's a lot of things in Plainfield that you could have been really selling, that you went down that path of under the radar. We're just curious as to why you didn't talk about those things.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
But again, you didn't get the video, so we wouldn't know that.
So what does it mean for, zero tolerance policy? Cause that's what we carry at Plainfield, correct?
Yes, for bullying and.
So it's only for bullying,
Well,
like,
anytime
you know,
that
there was,
violence-
I mean, there's people that have accidentally shot someone and they've been put in jail. Yes, accidents happen, but there are consequences. So I guess that leads back to where are we today? I mean, do we just sit in here and have this conversation and nothing changes? Are you gonna get the video? Are we gonna prove this? Or are you gonna step down? What?
Well, we're gonna keep trying for the video. I'm not going to step down. What I will do is we will work with teachers to make our curriculum more accessible. We'll make sure our maps are online with our list of resources. We do, when we were all online, virtual, you had access to Google Classrooms, Google Suite, and those we just didn't keep up with them in terms of getting them out. You get them at the beginning of the year for your student with your syllabus and your Google Classroom, but we can very easily put all our high school, middle school syllabuses online, so you can have.
There was a
full-
class that the middle school had started in the beginning. I don't remember what it was called. It was for like WIN class. Shouldn't we have been able to see what CNN Kids was telling our kids during that class period? I mean, I know that's not part of the curriculum, but it's still being taught and shown to our kids.
What is this?
CNN Kids was on TV.
You know, we don't show CNN. We don't have a subscription to CNN.
So what I need,
Yeah.
and what I need is, was a period that was designed for students, for either enrichment or vacation. It was a built-in time within the school day. I don't know exactly what you're talking about on that specific, if that's a subscription.
Just that on the TV, there was CNN Kids.
On the TV.
Yeah,
During
during
a class. During a WIN class.
Yes.
Okay. So that
And
is not part of.
I know, that's not part of the curriculum, so we don't get told. But I would like to know what was being shown to my child. If we're having transparency, I deserve that. So that's part of where I'm going. You guys can show us the curriculum all day long. That is state provide, comes down from the state. Every school is supposed to follow a curriculum. It doesn't mean I can't sit in the class and show my kids or students a video that has nothing to do with what the curriculum is, because that doesn't need to be or that doesn't follow the curriculum, so it doesn't have to be told to the parents. That's where I'm going. We can sit here and say and talk about curriculum. It's the stuff that's not in the curriculum that we're all is being held under the radar.
Well, I think that this is an important point. So it's not about what's in the curriculum, right? It's not about the additional ancillary opinions or views or any of that teachers or administrators may be pushing onto the kids, right? It's about the delivery method of the curriculum.
Yes.
Okay, I would probably agree, you may be 100% right. There is zero CRT or SEL or DEI or ABC or any of that in the curriculum, right? Because that would be suicide from the Indiana DOE if they did that, right? But if I teach everyone who's deploying that curriculum that it needs to be provided with the understanding and from the position that everything that is in America is racist and has racist undertones, then that's how it's gonna be delivered. And it doesn't have to be outright and upfront and in your face, right? I work for a school district. I understand how this goes, right? I know teachers that deliver it in a very pleasing way, but it doesn't take away from the tenets and the ideology of the curriculum, right? And so one thing that I think that parents really need to do so that you all better understand this, get Robin DiAngelo's book, all right? Get Derek Bell's book. Derek Bell, if you don't know who he is, he's actually probably the founder of CRT. Derek Bell was a lawyer, and the legal things that he wrote about and addressed is really what CRT was founded on, and it speaks directly to something that this gentleman mentioned. He will never get rid of racism. Derek Bell has it right there in one of his 1990 books called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. Great read, really interesting and extremely insightful into the evolution of CRT and how easily and quickly it can become, you know, a part of PD and used as a method to deploy general ideologies to the kids that isn't outright saying, hey, if you grew up with a dad in the house, take 2 steps forward, right? Because we've all seen that video, maybe not all of us, but a bunch of people have seen that video on TV, right? If you're here at college because you're not on an academic scholarship, because you had a tutor, because your parents, you know, made $180,000 a year, take 3 steps forward, right? And the idea is that all of those privileges separate the white kids from the black kids, right? That doesn't make anybody, you know, less deserving of a thing, right? But it's little things like that that start to implant the ideas in the kids' heads. Oh, well, I have a mom and dad at home. I must have it better than Johnny, who's being raised by his dad or only being raised by his mom. Well, maybe I need to give what I have to Johnny, or maybe I need to take a step back so that Johnny can take a step up. So you're probably right, the curriculum is probably 100% on board, but what we need to pay attention to, and we're only gonna do that if we understand it and have the education in CRT and SEL and DEI, is how it's being deployed in the conversations with our kids.
And you know, sir, I couldn't agree with you more. You can't understand it unless you're part of it. And I will tell you, I graduated from Plainfield High School, and I have a daughter about to graduate in a month from Plainfield High School. And in the last 13 years, I have had the privilege, this is not bread, I've had the privilege to spend hundreds of hours in the school preparation, alongside kids reading kindergarten, all the way up to walkathons, all the way up to PTO boards, all the way from one end to the other. Post-prom, May 5th, by golly, we could use all of you to volunteer. We need some volunteers. Now you have to come from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., but that's what we need to. But what I would tell you is that really and truly, the thing I've seen in this school is probably their #1 concern, boy, really probably teeter a little bit above education, is the safety of our kids. These people that you're talking about, the administration, our principals, our teachers, I promise you, many of them go to bed every night and every morning and pray about the safety of our kids every day and how they can make that environment safe for them. And I've had the privilege of serving on other boards that deal with kids that just don't always have that safe environment. And our teachers, our administrators, our principals, and our board, they all care very, very deeply about the safety of our children. Now, coming into this meeting tonight and hearing all about this, I certainly do not profess to be the smartest person in the world by any stretch of the imagination. So what I did is I went to the Department of Education site, and I did some due diligence before I came in here. And I learned about the best I could of critical race theory, as an IU professor teaches about it in a video on the Department of Education site. And he teaches, he's a law professor in Maine University, and he teaches critical race theory to his students and his law students. And he said, there's no way to K through 12. He said many of my students can't even get their heads wrapped around it. What I'm telling you is that our daughter hasn't, just like this young man here that just spoke, our daughter hasn't seen any of that, hasn't been shown any prejudice either way, is challenged by her teachers, is offered the opportunity in different classes and speech classes and advanced English classes and so forth to give opinions, write papers. You know, it's all very, very welcome. And I know this because I'm in the school, and this school corporation welcomes any parent to be part of it. And I would just ask you to ask yourself, really, is this the first time in how many years, maybe I have or have not been invested in my school, in my teachers, in my school, and my administrators and so forth? Because anybody that has a background check that passes can be in our school system and can help and can volunteer and can see firsthand what the teachers are teaching, what the administrators are supporting, what the administrators are not supporting. Whether that's athletics, I tell you that, not to brag, it's just been an absolute privilege to be a part of. And I read about, because I didn't really understand about, SEL, and I read about it, and I learned about it. And I will tell you, from everything I've observed, and with literally hundreds of hours and many friends within the school corporation, teachers and staff and so forth, you just don't know unless you're here and you're in it, and you see it. And, we have things that are amazing, like the Imagination Lab. We have an A+ credit rating as a school corporation. Do you know what that means? Do you know what kind of funding, what that means to us? If you don't, I would encourage you to learn it and be a part of it. And, we do so many wonderful things, and this was a caught up mess. And I'm sure, and I will tell you, the first one to say, there's been times I've said things, and I can't imagine one person in this room that's thought, oh, God, I wish that didn't come out. Can I get it back?
So
There are so many things to be proud of, and so many great things that we're doing for our school. And you know what? If your kids, I applaud you. If you don't agree with it, I applaud you for taking your kids and teaching them the way you want to be taught. I totally applaud you. Oh, that person. Sorry. I totally applaud that person. I totally applaud you. If you don't like it, then make a difference and make a change. But I'm just telling you guys, it's not just about one video. It's about so much more. And I would applaud you to be part of it.
And the reason I say that is because I've had some. So let me ask you, are you able to be in every classroom, every minute that something is being taught in every one of those classrooms?
Now, what do you think the answer to that is?
Well, there's obviously no. So you don't know, you can't across the board generalize and say, it's not being done here in Plainfield, okay? So, your experience, right? Yeah. So I'm saying that your experience may be completely different, 180 degrees different from someone else's experience, okay? I have a question for the lady that is the.
So to your point, let's take on that. The hardest thing about being in a public school is that it has to substitute for good parenting. And I'm not saying you're a good parent or bad parent or anything like that, you're not good. But I would say you need to go to the source, and that would be your child, and to understand and look online. It's very open.
Ma'am, I'm not naive enough to think that my kids weren't taught all kinds of crap in any school system, in this school system, okay? I know that I've got to go home and deprogram my kids when they come home from school from whatever nonsense they might have been taught, okay? And one of my beefs with this whole thing doesn't even have to do so much with what is or isn't being taught in the classroom. It really has to do with Laura Del Vecchio, with you saying, we need to lie to the community because we don't want their opinion to be something that it's not. And my taxpayer dollars are what pays for your salary. I'd like to hear your definition of white privilege, and then I'd like to also know, making more than $150,000 a year to work 240 days of the year,
what is your feeling about, are you privileged?
I am privileged to work in a wonderful corporation. I am privileged to work with the children every day in a job that I love. I am privileged to work as part of an administrative team that works tirelessly for the children of Plainfield. White privilege, I've said it. It was not the words, it was
No, I just asked for your definition of white privilege.
the definition of white privilege. I think the definition of privilege is just anyone who has grown up with any type of privilege that's awarded to them, whether it's through family, through money, through love, through church, through any type of privilege, whether it's black or white, doesn't matter, which is why I should not have said white privilege.
Does it matter?
It is a privilege, some way that some people are, that do grow up differently than other people.
So I still believe that you guys are trying to keep things from parents, and I get that. I understand why sometimes people do that, whether it's within a school system or some private industry or whatever. But taxpayer money is funding your jobs, okay? And on top of that, it's just not right, it's just not ethical, okay? You're calling out these reporters who, and quite frankly, on the issue of whether or not they'll release the video, as a former reporter, I'd never release my notes to anybody. That's not anybody's business except mine and perhaps my employer. So if you get the video, you get the video. If you don't, you don't. It really doesn't matter to me. But having said all that, my concern is, are you really here supporting the parents of this school system? Are you really doing what's best for the children? You used to be in charge of special needs for the school system, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that took over for you, I don't know her name, and I apologize for that. So I just would like to ask you, ma'am, is it still the policy of Plainfield schools that with special needs, when a parent comes in to get an IEP or a 504, that you instruct them, the staff, do not give out parental rights? We don't want them to know because it opens us up to lawsuits. Absolutely not. Because
Absolutely not.
6 years ago, it was different.
Well, this is my 8th school year, so it was different.
Your first year in here, 8 years ago then.
Yeah.
Your first year in the school system, that's what happened.
I'm sorry, I don't recall that particular instance, but that's not practice.
It was a directive from you after Laura Del Vecchio left that position.
Again, I don't know what you're referring to or what particular
Well,
circumstance
you
you're
guys don't want to
referring
get
to,
into
but
specifics
we
about
follow the law
about
in
teachers
accordance to
and staff
IDEA and Article
individually,
7.
so I
We
can't
definitely
do it.
provide transparency with our parents and their 504s and IEPs, 100%.
And I find it interesting when people ask, well, what punishment is gonna happen or what's gonna be resolved with this? So, I'm just curious, 5 years approximately ago, and Mr. Olin is gonna know what I'm referring to and probably won't appreciate me bringing it up. A teacher in the school system in one of the elementary schools had a closet of shame, okay? Closet of shame was, if you did something the teacher didn't like in the classroom, something of importance to you would be taken away from you, and it would be put in the closet of shame. In order to get that item back, you had to do something shameful in front of the class to get that item back, okay? Now, I give Mr. Ollinger credit for this. He responded immediately and took care of that problem. However, 5 years later, your teacher of the year this year gets promoted to, or gets honored as teacher of the year for having done something like that in her past. So there's your punishment. That's how the discipline.
If you want to learn about, other than from the board members and the superintendent and those kind of things, there's a man that wrote a book. He's a black pastor. His name's John Amanchulu. And he lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. He wrote this book called Erased, and it's spelled with a C, not an S. If you want to learn about some things, about the downfalls, the pitfalls, and all those things, this book will open your eyes to a lot of things that are going on. There's going to be there's always a controversy around things like this, but being a man and going through the things that he went through and his experiences, probably has more business writing this book than anybody in this room. So if you wanna learn about the short sides of CRT, SEL, or whatever you wanna call it, work group, then start picking up books, because here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you what you did on that video, regardless of whether you did it with malice or not. The reason everyone is sitting here and putting you on the hot seat and wanting you to get fired is broken trust.
Yes.
The people in this room trust you with their children. And when we can't trust you with our children anymore, guess what happens to the school system? You don't have one. We're not gonna tolerate it. Now, you either be transparent or you get out.
So you said it was a lady that posed as a parent coming from Texas. So was she looking for a school that teaches CRT and
She was looking
SEL?
for a school that wasn't similar to her Texas.
And what was Texas? Did
She said she wanted a school that was more open and accepting than she had in Texas. She felt like she didn't like the legislation around education in Texas.
So were you lying to her or are you lying to us? I mean, were
I'm
you
not
helping
lying to-
get her child in? I mean,
No, I wasn't lying to anyone. I was trying to just show good examples of why you should move to Plainfield.
I don't think white privilege was a great example.
I will own that. Yep.
I want to say something, if that's okay. My name's Stacy Fagg. I have two boys still in the Plainfield school system, one in middle school, one in high school. When they were younger, I used to volunteer a lot at Brentwood Elementary. I've been obviously in contact with teachers in every one of the school levels. The teachers are amazing, staff is amazing, really great people, and I think we all can probably agree that the majority of the staff, the teachers, administration, whatever, have good hearts and good intentions, and I've seen with my own eyes the work that these teachers do and are highly underpaid for what they have to go through on a daily basis and what they put up with. But I think the big picture of why we're all here tonight is this isn't just a new thing. And the video of you getting caught on tape, no matter how it happened, whatever she posed as, they posed as dishonest as they were, not really dishonest, but you didn't know what they were and what they were doing, that doesn't really matter. It's what was said, and not just by you, multiple other superintendents, not just in the state of Indiana. It's systemic. I've heard that word used so much the past couple of years, and not just this video and you being on the hot seat here lately. This school board and administration, the past at least 3 years, hot and heavy since COVID came about, and even before then, with all the conversations of, I see a lot of people in the room that were coming here during COVID and all the mandates and stuff that we were trying to minimize, brought up things in the past with school board trust issues and the trying to minimize and deflect everything, okay? Because the subtlety behind the scenes, and these are government schools. Public schools are government schools, correct? So everything behind the scenes that is subtle over the years that no one really notices, you know, the little bitty changes after a decade or 15 years, my God, are there changes? And they can be absolutely detrimental, not only to the community and the schools, but our children who are our futures. That's the biggest part of it, the biggest picture. Not just you and the improper wording, so you say that you use by mistake, whatever. And again, it's not just you, it's everywhere. And the dishonesty and the non-transparency of our school board over the years of really excluding parents and making it so difficult for us to share our voices and our concerns unless you're not on the agenda for the night. This wasn't planned for. You know, if something didn't like erupt the night before and the earth was burning down, you couldn't talk about it. Making it impossible for parents to communicate. We can't all be in the school on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Jobs, bringing money in for your family. I mean, we would all like to. Some of us have in the past, some of us still do, and it's great. It's a great experience. These teachers are wonderful, and it is a good school system overall. but there's so much behind the scenes that none of us will ever know. And it's the delivery of the content of the words that teachers use that can make all the difference on the curriculum that everybody has the same. It's the delivery, it's the intent, it's personal beliefs that get thrown in the mix that you can't possibly know what everybody says, and we're not trying to pick on you or you. You know what I mean? It's the big picture. That's what it's all about. It's been going on for a long time, and everything happens for a reason, and this has come to a head, and you're on the hot seat. So I would put more work into finding that video. If she can contact the guy, you gotta try better, honey. I'm sorry.
I have issues with that too, just if she has an email and that I'm finding like, I'm not necessarily trusting that she actually reached out to get the video necessarily. I mean, I feel like it all stems from the top, and if we can't trust the people who are at the top, then that kind of trickles down slowly and doesn't sit well with my stomach.
I don't know anything about the people that made the video, but it seems like it's in their best interest to stir the pot. And if they released the video and it maybe wasn't in such a negative light, that would not serve their agenda. I know, I'm just saying, so of course they want parents to have, go to your school. The outrage is what they want. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, you have to think about their motivation. Why trust them? Why trust them?
I hear you. I appreciate that. Here's my thing. This Baggio makes north of $150K a year. That's before fringe benefits, days off, company paid cell phone, professional memberships, life insurance, car allowance, 401K, all that other stuff. 13-year career plus all that stuff. Why are you waiting on Brooke? Second year, Brooke, third year? Second year.
Not even that.
Why are you waiting on someone in their second year of communications? Not that you're not completely talented enough to handle this. Why are you risking your family's finances and your reputation that you've built
It's a good
waiting
question.
on her? That's what I can't wrap my head around.
It's a good question. It's a fair question, and I don't have a good answer. I just letting my reputation, which has been stellar for the past 30 years, and you know, I know Brick reached out, and I think Stacy, you said it best. Like, there is a broken of trust right now, and I hate that I am kind of the person that is the catalyst. But what can we get from this? What can we do together? And I hear transparency in curriculum. I hear more opportunities to be in the building, whether it's volunteer or you know, I don't know what that can look like, but I want to make this better. I want to make the experience, I want to regain that trust. I'm not sure how to do that right now because there's nothing I can say.
You can start by apologizing.
Well, I did apologize. I said I owned. Oh, well, okay. Then I apologize that we are even in this situation. I said this last week. I apologize for the words that came out of my mouth and the way, whether it was twisted, whether it was spliced, doesn't matter. That's what you saw, and I apologize for that. I apologize for that.
I'd just like to say something that I have no little people in the schools, but I raised 2 adult children here and 2 grandchildren, and I must tell you that I'm in the school system on a weekly basis. I'm doing some other projects, and I wonder how many of you as parents have taken the time to go and speak with Miss Laura. Miss Laura has been an incredible person to work with in what I do. Mr. Unger also. They have been willing to hear me when I come and speak with them. So I want to encourage you as parents, talk with them. You know, we live in such volatile times. It is very strange what's going on in this world. And I think we can all get really riled up quickly, and I would probably be right there, but I just want to share another side to what I've experienced and what I know to be true. And if I was on the hot seat, I would want to be given the opportunity to prove that I am an honest person. And I do believe that Miss Laura is an honest person, so I just wanted to share that with you from my experience. Thank you.
made mention on earlier about recording in the room. My son is special needs. The school has been wonderful to him. I get notifications on how he behaves every day. I have asked, can I have recordings? Doesn't necessarily have to be video. I want recordings of his interactions so I can manage him better and his reactions. Yes, I get communications from the school daily. I love that. But I need to know exactly what he's doing at the time that he's misbehaving so I can address that point, that setting. With that being said, you can't have video, I understand that. HIPAA, all that. Why can't we have audio? That would now all this would be ended because it's transparent, right? Put microphones in the rooms. And then before everybody says, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. I come from LC, Lawrence Central High School. I have 2 state titles in marching band. Our band class had microphones. If it was a HIPAA violation, those would not be there. I know you can record in schools. I also went to Warren Central. I know, kind of contradicting, I did both my junior year and my senior year. So if you put the 2 together, I went to LC and I went to Warren Central. At Warren Central, I did broadcasting. I got a major in it from there. I understand how editing is done. I dealt with RTV6, Twitch TV8, Fox 59. I dealt with that because that's what my degree was going to be. I can tell you when things are edited and when things are not. Because I did that. That was what my specialty did. I was the director of their morning announcements. That was live my senior year. I am requesting that we put microphones in the classrooms. It will help me as a parent and it will squish a lot of this stuff. I guarantee you. Because I want to know when my son acts up, I can nail it down to the second and say, I can sit down and have a conversation with him. So I can say, hey, what, this right here, I can give him an example of what he did wrong. So if he's lying to me, God forbid, our kids don't always tell the truth. I can pinpoint to him, I can prove that you did this wrong. This is happening. He now knows when I come home and I say, were you good at school? I'm gonna have a notification on my phone, roughly around 4:15, 4:30 every day. I get off work whenever. I work on semis, I deal with people all over the world, everywhere, all over the United States every day. He knows when I get home, I already have a notification of how he was. So I'll know if he's lying or not. We have audio in our schools. There's nothing you can hide at that point. Why can't we bring that into our schools? That would help.
Who would teach? I don't want to be recorded all day long on my phone in my house. Who the hell is going to teach? You're going to have 25 parents calling you, saying, why did you talk to my child that way? Why did you do this? Reprimand my child the way that you did. Who?
This isn't about the teachers, this is about Laura.
Understood, but we're talking about.
Okay, I understand.
Well, I'll tell you next, it's about teachers.
All right, so here's the thing, right?
Yeah, that's
No, all right, here, let me address it. She's asking me, right? Let me please answer this. So, I drive a service truck. I'm the idiot on the side of the highway changing tires on semi trucks, right? I have a dash cam facing forward, a dash cam coming back. If my uniform is too dark, that camera is now recording because it doesn't register the seatbelt against my clothing. I go too fast, or some idiot decides to pull out in front of me, that camera is now recording. My job is always constantly recording. For my safety, for everybody else's safety. I have 8 cameras pointing on me at work. Audio recorded, video recorded. I do things that will kill you in a heartbeat. My company loses 1 person a year for roadside assistance. That means killed. No ifs, ands, or buts. We're constantly recorded. What's the difference? Your life's not online. Mine is. But I get recorded. Same with officers. They're recorded.
I have 5 kids,
and 4 when we go to school. I'm not, if you guys send me audios, I'm not gonna watch them. I'm not gonna listen to them.
I'm not asking everybody else to listen to it,
But I do agree that we need to do something. What you did was wrong. You keep saying that you didn't know that you were recorded, and I respect that. But I tell my kids to live by like you guys are always being recorded. Because there's cameras everywhere. You go outside, someone's recording you doing something. I mean, like I said, I've dealt with Marisa, I've dealt with Kylie a little bit, but thank God my kids aren't considered troublemakers, so I don't hear from them often. But the ones I've dealt with Colleen, you guys are great. But when I watch that video, and I don't interact much, I mean, I do go to school, but I work a full-time job, I have 5 kids. What you did, you have to admit, was wrong. You should, even if a parent comes in there and says that to you, you tell them the truth. You say, we're Plainfield, this is what we believe, this is what we teach. You don't change it to what they want to hear. You tell them what we are, and at the end of the day, what's on that wall is what we are. Red Pride. We are Red Pride. I mean, I'm in charge of the baseball, and I Red Pride all day, hashtag Red Pride all day, and I teach my kids that. So the fact that you apologize today, I appreciate that.
I do apologize because this is not what I want for our community, and I can't say it enough that I'm sorry that my words brought us here today. Maybe the silver lining is the trust we rebuild and we figure out a way that we are transparent for you and we make that work with our classroom and our teachers so you don't get 5 audio videos, right? There's a happy medium in there. I don't know what it is. And posting the curriculum is what I hear, but also the resources and
Or if you're gonna do something different like CNN Kids, let us know you're doing it.
Right.
So we can ask our kids what they learned that day, what they were watching that CNN Kids thing.
yeah,
I have
and
no
and
idea.
that's another point. Like, go through your kids' backpack, go through their assignments, go through what they and it's all.
It's all on
Well, they have a Google.
After they sat through a video in class about watching and having too much screen time, my own this was last year, 6th grader comes home and says to me, Dad, why am I watching this video? We have more screen time at school than they tell me I'm allowed to have for a whole day. He did the math. I didn't do the math. He didn't need Fox News or CNN to tell him that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You still
It is a lot of the curriculum.
You still haven't addressed why anyone with pride, if you were talking about Red Pride, why would any teacher or administrator or anyone else in the school district, cafeteria worker or otherwise, need to be subtle? Why?
They don't need to be subtle. What I'm trying to, I guess, very poorly say is teachers build relationships with kids and take the flags out. We don't need any of that. We don't, I'm sorry that if that's what I said, but I just want teachers to build relationships with kids so that kids have a trusted individual beyond their family. Family is the first. But at school, there's some kids that don't have that, and our teachers, it's pretty hard to teach kids when they're not connected to you, and figuring out that balance is what I think we're all trying to do.
But you yourself said at the beginning of this, I asked if there had been any, Mr. Cooney said it's not in high school, he's welcome to take a tour, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you making the offer. But you guys acknowledge that you've seen it in the last 12 months.
I have
that
not
it's
seen
happened.
it. I have not seen flags in classrooms. What I've seen is the Red Pride shields.
I think you need to understand that some of us parents don't have a problem with that.
No. You need to understand some of the parents do, and it doesn't belong in the school system.
None of that, right, and you have to consider the gay kids as well. I'm real sorry about that.
No. The gay stuff
It
is
is
on
what
their own
it
time.
is.
We're not, the straight kids aren't having sex at school.
Neither are the gay kids.
Right, but they don't need to talk about it at school. We're not talking about other stuff.
So I can bring my rebel flag to school.
I was gonna say some rebel flags.
No, my straight kid is not, I assure you.
I don't know who is, but they.
I will handle it. My son is not saying that, nor is my daughter. They wouldn't talk like that.
You don't
They've had great
understand.
principals and great
The
teachers, and I will
gay kids
reiterate
in
what
this
other people have
school
said.
are having slurs
Great
used
teachers.
against them.
Great principals.
And so do the white kids, we're told we're white privilege when they're white boys for no reason. Or have right here,
If they're so confident, listen, if they're so confident in who they are, why do they need the approval of a straight kid?
They don't, they need some slurs not used against them.
If I could,
It's unfortunate, but I think that is a very small subset.
See, you're saying that these gay kids, and
No. No, I said the flag. Anna, I said the flag. I did not say anything about a gay kid in the entire community, and wouldn't. I said the flag doesn't need to be in the school. And I did ask the question, in the last 12 months, are you aware of any LGB, pride, or similar flags, banners, or other items being displayed in which kids can see them? And you guys acknowledged you had. Play the audio back that you've been recording. You acknowledged it. And then I singled out the high school from what I was told by a very reliable source, somebody I'm friends with that's a leader in this community. School board members know them, superintendents know them. They would call them trustworthy. And Mr. Cooney said that it's not in the high school, right? But before he said that, you guys acknowledged that it was in the school community. It was in this community, in the school system. You didn't say where. Where is it? Where have you seen it in the last 12 months?
I have not.
You guys acknowledged it at the beginning of the meeting. I'm not the only one that heard you
I
acknowledge
thought you
it.
said you guys removed them or something. Didn't they say someone removed them? They were removed?
There was one teacher in question, I think that was 2 years ago.
Is there a policy against that?
There's not a.
They
Who
asked
asked
about the
that?
policy.
Oh, yeah, you asked about the policy. There's not a policy.
Would it be okay to display a Christian flag in the classroom? Like a cross?
There really shouldn't be any of that. Right. And I hear you.
I'm just
I hear you.
asking
Yeah.
what the policy is
Yeah.
on if we
Nobody
display
here
a
is
cross.
against it.
Right.
Every
No, it's
teacher,
not.
So that would be
whole
pushing
setup
down.
earlier,
And
But a
the,
pride flag
volunteered
would
a
not.
year
I
missing.
don't see my pride flag.
I'm asking you a
Yeah,
question.
no, right. I understand like how they're.
So, so what is the policy then, a cross flag versus a pride flag?
So classrooms need to be neutral.
But is there a policy for that?
I don't know if there's a policy.
If a teacher has a pride flag in their classroom, what happens to them? Are they told to take it down, and if they don't, then what?
Well, what would you do? I mean, ask them to take it
Because
down.
you said that the
Yeah,
cross would
yeah,
stay.
because the cross would be taken down. Like, yeah, the classroom should be neutral.
Well, that's
And
what we've been
I hear
asking.
you, and, right, they should be neutral, right. And
So
so the cross.
So what will happen next year?
If we told the teacher to take it down, I would hope that they
Okay,
would.
we have one more person who'd like to.
And then there'd be
You're
conversation.
not doing anything about it. Okay, is the school board gonna do anything about the superintendent who earlier you said it was his call? He's not gonna do anything about it. Or is the school board gonna do anything about it?
What do you mean, do anything about it? What do
All
you
the other
want?
schools have done something.
You approve,
Not all
you
the other
approve all these contracts.
What is it you're asking then?
We're asking for termination. Point blank, we're asking for termination.
No,
Okay, that's
You
good.
don't need to say no, Mr.
So
Roller. I'm
here's
sorry.
how, here's how we handle that, folks, here's how we handle it. We recall the school board, we fire the superintendent, we hire someone that fires her. That's how this process works.
Brad, can I address that? First of all, Indiana law does not have a recall position.
Okay.
We'll vote you out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You are, no,
You're coming up.
let me speak. I've spoken.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure, I hope that more people run for school board. I hope more people get active and pay attention. I wish we had more people at board meetings, because local government works best when the community is involved in paying attention. Those are good things. If any of you are thinking of running for school board, or thinking of encouraging somebody else to do so, make sure you understand what the job entails. Make sure you understand just how limited the powers are. Make sure you understand what percentage of what people are upset about originates elsewhere, as in the State House and in the US Capitol. Be sure, because what's gonna happen is, you're gonna say to people, well, I'm gonna get in there, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. In your first month, you're gonna find out you can't do any of those things. And I will be happy. Anybody in this room, even those of you who clearly don't think too highly of me, and that's fine, I will be happy to sit down with you over a cup of coffee and answer your questions about running for school board, ask your questions about what the board can and can't do. I'm happy to. So anytime. You wanna sit down over a cup of coffee or beer, Brad?
25 years, right?
23.
23. You should be commended. Scott's been a former board president, he's put in a lot of time. And I've sat with Scott, I've sat with Brad, Jessica. The board is limited. But one thing you do have the power of is you hold all these contracts. You approve these contracts. You sign off on them after she does and he does. You sign off on them. You hold the power to revoke them. The school board holds that power.
We hold the power to say the superintendent we'd like to see. We don't have the direct power.
Do you fire the superintendent?
We can't
not
So
trying
if
to
he's
pose
not
as a
doing it-
question, but I'm just curious, why did he have to go interview with the superintendent when he applied for the school board position?
I'll be happy to
Before
tell you.
making it to the school board?
Isn't that an elected position? Here again, can I speak or is everybody else going to? What we did to stage the interviews, so that we would make sure that as candidates were coming in, they weren't seeing the other
Scott, you can
candidates.
shake your head at me, you've been silent this entire time,
I'm
sir.
telling you, though, Bill, you came in, the opportunity was
Scott,
to
you-
ask questions about the position. It wasn't an interview, it was, I said, do you have any questions about the position?
Scott, you said this is just a formality, you said we don't have any decision over this, but we obviously have a vested interest. That seems a little leaky, sir.
Well, the reason that we did it was to stage the candidates, and also because board members work closely with the administration. So we just wanted to hear in a conversation, because not all the candidates were well known to the administration, what were your impressions? That's it. You were not being interviewed, you were being interviewed by us. You were given the same opportunities that everybody else were, and we thought extremely highly of.
I appreciate that, and I think very highly of most of the people in this room, and that hasn't changed despite what we saw on national TV. And Laura, I've been in your situation, and I understand what you're going through. I understand what your colleagues are going through. I've been viral before. I've had J.D. Fox talk about me, tell me I'm not black enough, right? I've been there, okay? You guys can look it up, it's out there, okay? A couple more million views, I'm sure you have, but I manage. The difference between all of this is what I was fighting for was equality. I was talking about the 5 officers, the black officers, as a black man who beat a black man in Memphis and called out the hypocrites that didn't want to talk about the fact that they were black, right? It's a policing issue, right? I talked to my friends in policing. I've been through the Police Citizens Academy. I've been through the Citizens Academy for education, for the town, through all of that. I've got state experience. I've got national experience. I've been through that. The difference between this and that is, at the end of the day, Laura, I was remorseful. I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Whether I willingly was out there or not, it speaks volume about what was said behind closed doors, and that's what everybody's here for. Had you known you had been recorded, it was a different conversation. And I'm sorry that it happened that way. I'm sorry that you're going through this, because I still love you as a person, very much. I'm sorry that you're going through this. And at the end of the day, I don't want to see you fired, right? I want to see some type of accountability. Pat Cooney. I would love to tour the high school. I'd love to walk the halls that I once walked, the place that made me a man.
Anytime.
I would love that.
Anytime.
At the end of the day, we're asking for transparency, and we have not gotten transparency yet. And that's what people are frustrated about. We keep going in circles, we're here way later, I miss my kid's bedtime, because we want to talk about transparency, and we're not getting it. So can we talk about actual steps? Can we work on moving on? Because if not, this gentleman's gonna run for school board, and good men like Brad DuBois, great people like Jessica Elson are gonna get voted out, because we can't sit here like adults and figure out something that's actionable. So can we please just work on something, for the love of God? Let's all be parents, let's be adults. Let's move forward with something.
What do the schools do?
I used to teach at Van Buren, and I am very proud to have once taught in such a great corporation. And some of you might remember me here, and I stayed home to take care of my girls. And I have visions of them wearing, red and cheering on the football field one day. And so I was taken aback by that video. And I used to sit in meetings with people and, always be guarded, always watch what you say. So I was like, when I saw that video, I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? And I'm taking this role as a parent, that my girls are gonna one day come into this school system and they're gonna walk these halls. And so my teacher brain is put to the side and it's my mama brain now. And I wanna make sure that my girls are gonna be protected and nurtured and loved, just like I loved and nurtured my students. And I gave them everything I had every day. And I agree that right now we're broken. Like, the community is broken right now. There is a lack of trust. And I personally feel like, could we not get a committee started and have parents and community members and teachers and administrators get together and talk about things that are bothering us and have protocols and events and things like that we can come together and we can have certain accountability for everyone across the board so that this sort of thing doesn't happen again, and that we can grow strong.
do believe in Plainfield. And Laura, I do believe in you. I mean, I remember we would have several meetings together, and I can tell you from experience that Laura loves these kids. Like, she puts everything out every day. And, every single teacher here does too. I mean, so, but as a parent, we've got to do something different. I mean, y'all don't know me, you can't take my word, but let's do what you suggested. Let's get together instead of going in circles and beat a dead horse. Let's try and make a plan where we can all come together and not allow something like this to happen again. That's just my opinion. Let's get something started.
Unfortunately, for it to not happen again, you have to have a zero tolerance policy. And what's clear from this meeting to me is there's no zero tolerance policy.
Do you feel
This
like?
is gonna be allowed to slide, and it's gonna be accepted, and we're gonna get promises that it's not gonna happen again. At this point, it's really not so much about the content of the video. It's character now. for me.
I don't think that we should be telling the school board to fire Mr. Olinger at this point. Now, I'm not his biggest fan, and he probably has no idea who I am or why I'm not his biggest fan. Do you know who I am, Mr. Olinger? Okay. But I do think that our school owes us requesting the video, releasing the video. They owe that to us before we can say, fire Mr. Olinger, you need to resign, yada, yada, yada. They owe that to us. She's saying it was spliced, it was edited. I think that's the next step, is you guys have to get the video, and you have to release it to us. Bottom line. And then we get to decide then if Laura's telling the truth or if she's not telling the truth.
Well, and my whole thing here is, guys, trust is a huge thing. And for Mr. Olinger to sit here and say, oh, nope, she still got her job. But all of us do not trust. We have no trust for this administration, correct? I mean, not the teachers, because the teachers, hey.
It's not a teacher issue.
Mr. Cooney, gosh, I can't say enough great things about you. But the guys at the top messed up. And it's a trust issue with this community at this point. That's the bottom line. It's trust. The transparency, great. But you gotta have trust. And for a leader of my school district to say white privilege, I don't care where it's at, if it's recorded, if someone heard it, talking about white privilege to anyone, a leader of our school corporation. That is absolutely ridiculous. And, come on, guys. Our school board cannot think that our administrator that has been appointed says white privilege, that's okay, and we're not gonna do anything about it. We voted you in to represent us, and white privilege on national TV in our school corporation? Come on, guys.
Get the evidence.
My name is Dave Pilcher. I'm a recent grad from here also, 1960. I had two kids that went through the school district in the 90s. I had a privilege of serving on the board back again. I only say that to, I'm a little connected, a grandfather now. One thing I would offer, and I think you look at the positive things that might come out of the difficult things. I believe in God's providence that everything happens for a reason. I appreciate your apology, and as he has taught me, I forgive you. One thing that it seems to point to, and it's been mentioned, what I propose to the board and to the administration for some thought, and maybe the parents too. How long has it been since we've had a mission statement for this school and the stakeholders that are involved in developing that? If you look at the things we talked about tonight, and there were a number of things, transgender issues, possibly coming out, not whether it's in this classroom, but it's certainly out there. It's in our state, it's across this country. We talked about other lifestyles from a sexual standpoint, and a number of these social issues. And honestly, folks, I prayed about this before coming to this meeting, trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? And I really am challenged to think, maybe it's time we get together and determine the mission statement. Because at the core of each one of these social issues is, who's responsible? The parents or the education system. Now, I know where I come down on that. The full responsibility and accountability is to that parent. And there's a line with the noblest intentions, and it's easy to cross, but there's a line where outside of that circle, teachers, educators, others cannot take that authority away. I mean, it is central. And I think over the decades, I think the gentleman might have left, the books that talk about in critical race theory, this has been around for 20 to 30 years. This has not come out in the last year. And it's a slow process. And we need to be more educated about it, aware of it, sensitive to it. My gut here is in this community with this administration and this school board and these parents, I got a feeling we've got a lot that we would think in common about. But we can't go pick this little problem. Look to the root. Establish what the authority of the school is and the teachers and the administration dealing with your kids. Because they're yours. They're yours. Like it or not, you are responsible and you are accountable. Nothing should go on. Nothing should go on within a public school system the parent does not know anything about. Nothing. Now, I honestly think we could agree to that. I think we could. Now, that's a good mission statement, but, 2 or 3 new sentences or a paragraph's not enough. Like the Declaration of Independence was fantastic. It's a mission statement for this country. It took the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to define how that was going to work. And the concept is the same here. And I think there's an interest here. The parents, representatives of all sides, getting with administrators and the school board. And let's read this mission statement. Because we agree there, everything else can be measured by that. The accountabilities are standardized, expected, and I really don't care what the state of Indiana has to say. Well, I do. Because I'm a state of Indiana taxpayer, every one of you. And get involved with the Department of Education, because there are things that you have to comply with. There absolutely is. But guess who they work for? You. Don't ever forget that. And I mean, now's the time all around us where we've got to get serious about that. Our obligations as citizens of this country starts right with the school board. It goes to mayors, it goes to governors, all the way up the line. Forgive me, I'll stop there, but God bless you all.
I think I'm with this gentleman back here, on most points, except for I'm not sure whether or not, I believe you should lose your job. That is to be determined. I think she's got a good point. We need that pay, and I think that onus is on you, okay? And the administration. His point about talking in circles, and we sat here for over 2 hours. I would like to hear from the administration on what your plan is. You're the one that broke the trust, not us. What is your action plan to rebuild that trust?
Can I say one thing real quick
Oh,
first?
hold on.
Just one thing.
No.
About
Let me
transparency.
finish. Let me finish.
Okay.
I want, and I don't want it tonight. I want you guys to sit and think about it, right? An offhand, answer tonight is not good enough. I wanna know what this administration and the board's plan is to rebuild that trust in all of us, because you're the ones that broke it.
I do agree with these people on one thing. There is common ground in this room. I've been in the school system since 2019, and there is a transparency issue. And I don't think that this woman should bear the brunt of taking care of that. It starts at the top, and I've gone a few rounds with you, Dr. Olinger, and a few other people in this room, and that is something that I agree with them on. We need more transparency across the board.
What's your role, ma'am?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm just a parent.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said you were in the school system, I thought you meant.
I am also on the CPAC board, the Special Education Parental Advisory Council for Plainfield Schools. So yes, diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to me, okay, as is our LGBTQ kids, okay, and whether we like it or not, whether we are straight or not, They are here, and they have every right to feel supported when they leave the house.
I don't think they need a flag to show that though.
Well,
In the
whatever,
classroom anyway.
they come up with a different way, so that they
I mean,
don't
I
have to
think
worry
just
about
being
being bullied and all
Well, that's
these other
between
things.
kids.
We got a no bullying policy, don't we?
Well, it's not working.
It doesn't for any other kid either.
It's not.
But don't you think them putting flags up is going to bring more issues for them? Because then you're singling them out. Like, my daughter, I'll be honest, my daughter doesn't know what she is. She doesn't know if she's gay, straight, she has no idea. And I'm okay with that, because she's 15 years old. But I don't want her to have a target on her back either. And I'm not saying that she would or she wouldn't, but what I'm saying is you're telling us that we should accept that and be more accepting of it. But I don't want my straight kids to tell everyone that they're straight either. This is nobody's business.
Right.
And school is school. That's it. Like, I love the LGBTQ, and I will go and I'll carry a flag for you on the corner of 40 any day you want. But it doesn't belong in our schools.
I'm gonna, as a teacher, not in Plainfield, I'm an IPS. I wish, and I've been pretty vocal, so you guys can laugh at me. I wish that it was as simple as it doesn't belong in schools. Honest to God, I wish it was that simple. You know, Mr. Cooney, I think you would agree with me. I don't know the other administrators. I know Mr. Cooney because you had my niece when you were at Brentwood. The fact is, it's not that simple. Teachers, administrators, counselors, we are faced with that every day when kids come to us crying, or kids come to us talking about killing themselves. It is not as simple as it doesn't belong in school. It is there. It is already there.
But that's you supporting the child, not helping fund it.
Yeah.
And
Right, we have-
kids will come to you with that same issue that they want to kill themselves. It has nothing to do with them being gay. It's just a depression thing. It's a mental health thing.
I disagree with you.
Pride flag, why can't we hang a
Or a
Christian
Christian
flag?
flag.
Or
I mean, we
That,
live in-
and that has been an issue of debate since at least 2002 when I graduated Plainfield. And we fought the superintendent then to have prayer at our graduation. So at least since 2002, I happen to know since actually 92, so I did a lot of that too. But here's the thing, it's in our schools. Do I think we should be directly teaching it? No. And that's not even my issue. My issue is not CRT, my issue is not SEL, my issue is not LGBTQ+. That is not my issue. My issue is, this made national news, we need the full video. And that's what I want for my administration. That is all I want, whether I like you or I don't like you. I'm a Plainfield grad. My school has been slandered across the country, according to Ms. Laura. Prove to us that it's wrong. That's what I want. If it's wrong, Laura, then dear God, you have been a wonderful saint sitting here and taking this brutal abuse. But if it's not wrong, if it's not a lie, then we have bigger issues.
How much cut and clear can that be though?
Huh?
How much cut and clear was that video?
Well, you know, if there were teachers in this room.
They're just gonna continue, that's what he was saying, like, it's just like, you know, the video we needed, yeah, that's fine, but like, how much?
If there are teachers in this room,
She said it twice under radar.
But here's the thing, and Laura, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and please know, I've been pretty vocal, you guys know where I stand on this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate though. Let's play pretend that it was twice. Let's play pretend they did take it out of context. Let's just play pretend, because I know I've had videos of me that a kid took and took it out of context. Thank God my school that I was at the time did have videos in the classroom and audio. We did have high definition video, so I was able to protect myself. But I've seen it happen because it's happened to me. Now, do I think that's the case? Well, if that was truly the case, then we'd have the video already released. But, so I'm saying the burden of proof is on you guys. Get the video and release it. And then this will go away.
They don't care what comes out. He's going nowhere. He's doing nothing about it. They've already stated it. And it's just point blank stated.
I just want something to you guys to say that you're gonna do something. Whether, however, like he said, I want you guys to send us something later that says you guys are gonna do something to rebuild our trust. I don't care, the video, you said what you said, you said why you kind of said it was because you didn't know you were being recorded, and you were trying to kind of feel to what she wanted you to say. I can respect that, but what I want from the administration, I don't even care that you get terminated, because I think you guys are all great. My kids are blessed to go to Plainfield. We moved here so we could go to these schools. Because we moved from Illinois to come here. So I'm asking you to send out your job.
Last call. Now, how do I know that?
I think we do need to do something to rebuild that trust, and I like the idea of a specialist, like the special ed has a parent advisory group, you know, we could pull something together.
Are we not gonna try to get the video?
We're gonna keep trying.
Dr. Olinger? That we're not gonna try to get the video?
We tried to get the video.
Do you have an email that you can send out to us?
Yeah, let's see the email.
That you send an email
I can tell you this too, the day that they called us and said this was gonna come out, we asked for it then, and they told Brooke, we will send it to you, you'll have it in an hour. Never heard from them. That day, they told us that we were gonna get the video. Then, before that even happened,
They told her, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, they told her that they found it on YouTube.
Yes.
that's what they told her on the phone, and she said, ask for the video. Well, we just found it on YouTube. You can Google it. They wouldn't even admit that they did it.
Okay,
So now you're trying to get out.
No, it's.
I know, it's still.
Yeah, when we first called.
You know, sir, all due respect,
Right.
you need your attorney to contact them. That's what you should do, it'd be that simple, and then we wouldn't all be sitting here.
I think most people in this room would be okay with you spend their tax dollars that way.
Absolutely. Get it.
Do what you have to do to get the video. And Brooke, I would say to you, please, if you have that email, make it public so we can see that you guys are trying to be transparent. Prove to us that you sent the email. Because right now I have parents saying, we sent them an email, we got an email, a response within 3-4 minutes. And you're saying, well, it's been days.
One thing I would like to correct, I have an email thread with all of the school PR communications people who were in the original video, right? None of them have received the video. So what is being told to you, what I have asked every day, that those school corporations have not been provided the video. I think what happened is that a lot of them asked for the video, but they asked for it understandably using their work email address, just like I did. And so when you use your email address and it has the school email, the school URL after the ad, we are not getting a response. None of us have gotten a response. But if a parent sends an email, then it is in their best interest to continue that conversation because those are the people that they are wanting to get in front of. So when it's been said that several school corporations have the video, I would love for somebody to send it to me because they have not. The people that I work with around the state have not received their unedited footage from their administrator talking, nor have we.
But Brooke, are you willing to post it?
Can help.
Are you willing to post your email?
I mean, I have nothing to hide, absolutely.
That's what I would ask. If they can post it, Plainfield's got a Facebook page, post it all over the place. Let us see what you're trying to do.
They would.
I think something's been left on Brooke's shoulders that she shouldn't have had to have done, period. It should have been the school attorney going forward with it, get it cleared up, either clear her or this is what she said. The point that did roll off her lips is concerning.
Well, that's my question to us as parents, why do we need the video? We've already seen it.
Because they're saying it's edited.
Right, so why are we so like, just send us the video and all is forgiven? No, it's not.
I guess I would just like a bit
We've
of
already
down.
seen it.
You know, I've spoken to Mr. Ollinger before when I talked to him, not about CRT, but the safety of the school. And I will tell you, with my experience with him, he had all the time of the day.
Well, it's
to
not
talk to
him
me.
as a person, you know. I
Right,
remember
but I'm saying the attorney can handle it.
But this is their job.
And understandably, but the attorney can handle it. I think maybe that's a step that's missed.
So I know we could sit here the rest of
They're
the,
already paying for a school attorney.
we could sit,
Yeah, I'm gonna run out.
okay, so we could sit here and have these, and this is what we have this for, is to be able to have these conversations, to hear what you're needing, what you're thinking, what your thought processes are. So now we need some time to take that. We need some time, not a lot of time. I'm not gonna say this is gonna go on forever, but please allow us to have the time to digest it and to do what we need to do to help you know that we are honestly doing everything we can in the
Can you
best
give us a
interest
time
of
frame?
every, yeah.
I'm not saying you have to have it by tomorrow, give us a time frame, no later than this date.
When you try to organize a bunch of different people at once, it gets kind of challenging to do
This is
that.
important.
I know it is. I think sometimes we have kids that went through and
Do
go
you need
through the
30
school
days?
system too. So we know as a parent and as everything, but yes, we will definitely within 30 days.
I have a question for the board.
Is that on video that she said no later than 30 days? Okay.
I have a question for the board that's very easily, very quantitative. It's information available on Indiana View, the Department of Education in Indiana. What was our graduation rate last year for non-waivered students?
Non-waivered students?
Non-waivered.
Our graduation, tell me.
83.9. The year before, 87.7. The year before that, 93.4. You see the decline of our school graduation? In Hendricks County, Danville is the only one below us with regards to graduation rates. Decatur Central is above us. Avon, Brownsburg's at 98%. We're at 83.9%. Avon 90.1%. Decatur 88.3%, and Mooresville at 95%. So we had, let's say, 100 people in this room today. Statistically, 16 of your kids aren't going to graduate. Now, a lot of you have elementary kids, right? If we keep on this downcline, how many of your students are not going to be graduating?
Need to understand the reasons for the decline. You're making some big assumptions with
Yes,
some fair
thank
data.
you.
I'm just sharing with you. I mean, I don't know what.
Just say, I know what some of it is. Trust me, I know what some of that is, why we're not having some people graduate. Because we bring in more people into our school district and our warehouse district, and it's growing so big, so fast. But think about that. We can hold them accountable, board, for the decline, right? Because that's a quantitative number. We have X number of students and X number of students.
Because they hold their teachers accountable for the ILR data.
And what was the parental participation rate during COVID, during what was the parental participation rate during COVID? When we had the at-home classes? It wasn't very good.
Okay, I do.
Our graduation rate was 93.4%.
So on piggyback on yours, what's the parental during COVID? Like, I think you guys fumbled COVID too, but that's a whole other topic. Parental rate, okay? We got to the end, my son was in 4th grade. COVID hit. We left, we didn't go to school anymore. His teacher called us at the end of the school year. What did we do, 4 months, Scott, 3 months, 4 months? When COVID hit, and that first partial, 3 months, let's say 90 days. And at the end of that 90 days, our son's 4th grade teacher calls us and she says, I just want to thank you. Your son's the only kid in the class that showed up to every Google Meet and did all the homework that we asked him. Okay? I'm not bragging. What I'm saying is, that's the bare damn minimum. Get out of bed and go to the dang Google Meet. Do the work that's asked of you. It wasn't even graded. How could you not do it? And then, but here's the problem. How many of the kids that didn't do it were held back? So you talk about graduation rates over there. How many COVID kids? I mean, that's obviously factored in that number. I don't know what that number is, but that's factored in that number, right?
I'm gonna say as a teacher, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cooney, we weren't allowed to retain kids during that time. That came from the state of Indiana, that came from our Department of Education. That was not available.
But those babies are suffering. Like, I have a 3rd grader who was a COVID kindergartner. She's suffering. And when she's getting better every day, but it did affect us. A lot of the kids. My high schooler is suffering. He's a 6th. So we did fail. And I just, as far as the trust issue, like, I graduated here. I have all my kids in my school. I love Plainfield. I love it. I want my kids to stay here. But I just gotta know that I can trust them. Their dad is deceased, died of cancer. I'm a single mom. I didn't know when I put my kids in your guys' hands that I could trust you. That's all I'm asking. And that's my emotional skill, but that's it. That's all I want is
drop my kids off at school every day. There's a support system. There's somebody that can pick them up when they're suffering. Their dad just died in October. I don't get that. Like, there's support, you know? I mean, I went to school and I got told, you'd be surprised how many kids are going through this. And no disrespect, Mr. Kennedy, but that's just the way that it was. That's the answer that I got. And there may be a lot of kids going through the same experiences, but, you know, each individual one needs their own help, their own support system. So we gotta do better for our kids, because you guys are a big part of that. You know, we can't be there every moment. Otherwise, we all would just homeschool our kids. We wouldn't be here. You know, we just say, forget it. We'll just homeschool our kids. So that's my little rant. I've been quiet the whole time. I love Plainfield. I just want, you know, want that community back.
But these are the kids that we're here fighting for. Like, it would be very easy to be here tonight and just worry about my 2 kids and my future kids coming to school for me. That's not why I'm here. That'd be such a self-centered way to serve this evening. I'm not here for them. My kids, I don't know if they thrived or not during COVID. I guess it's to be determined. But they did everything they're supposed to do and they're doing fine right now. But I'm too dumb and stubborn to let them fail. Right? I'm gonna reinforce what they're learning in school, and we're gonna talk about the CNN kids and all the other garbage that might be involved in a day, right? We're gonna talk about those things. We sit around the dinner table, right? Not everybody has that ability. But my kids also aren't privileged because we do that. I bust my ass to provide them that life. So does my wife, right? These are the kids we're fighting for. These are the kids that need help. My kids need help too. Right? I'm no different, but they have to get what they need, and it can't be put in a block where, like, oh, you're different because your dad passed away. They need support because he passed away, but it can't be a kids glove thing, because when they get to 18, the real world's not gonna know it. I'm sorry. You know, but we have to help them, we have to lift them up. Right? And they should have a little bit more support during the school day. But we gotta find a way to not put the burden on the teachers, because I think they're already doing too much with all the extracurricular stuff. You know, maybe one of the answers is do we need to take all the money from the state we take that puts all these extra burdens on you guys? Administrators and teachers alike? Do we need to take all that money? We have the 8+ credit rating, somebody said. I mean, I know we got PPP money and ERC money, I'm guessing, probably by the millions, right?
No.
I mean, we didn't lose any funding because the school didn't actually shut down, the state didn't shut down. We got a lot of funding, then we got all the PPP on top of it, all the ERC on top of it. You're welcome. Thank you, taxpayers. But we have to find a way to do it without putting more on the teachers. We have to, right? And I think we put more on the teachers right here, because every parent in the community is hypersensitive to what their kids are coming up with. Hypersensitive. And if you get that video, and it's defamation, 2 things. I'll be the first person to apologize to you. Second thing is, you won't have to worry about doing curriculum anymore unless you really love it, because you'll be a millionaire. Fox News just got paid $787 million for defamation of a company. You should be after these guys. Put them out of business. If it's truly fake, truly false, right? Put them out of business so it doesn't happen to somebody else. I don't see the action on my end. That's what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. I don't see the action from you guys, and I don't feel the remorse. I feel like
here's, you just said the crux, again, I apologize. I did reach out to an attorney, and I was told, like it or not, I'm a public figure, and I can't do anything about it. That's what I was told. And so I have to sit here and apologize, because it's from the bottom of my heart. I do apologize, because I want to do better. I want us to do better for your kids. So because I'm a public figure, I don't understand it, but I have to take it. So here's what I feel for the teachers, just like you said. And I feel like I need to be the voice for the teachers, because they need support. They need help. They need to know that you all trust them. You may not trust me, and hopefully we'll get there, and my brain is moving on things that we could possibly do. But I need you to trust your teachers every day. I need you to trust the work that they're doing. Because I try to keep this, like, I want to keep the spotlight on me, trust your teachers because they're doing the work. And you know you are. You've all been saying it. You know they've been doing it. And so trust your teachers. And if something comes up where you question an assignment, ask them. There could be a reason behind it, and they're not looking at it at a lens that you might be looking at it. And that's okay, but those are good conversations. And that's when change happens, is when you say, hey, this one kind of is borderline. And the teacher, teachers are always looking for innovative ways to keep kids' attention, because as you know, you go out for dinner, your kid has an iPad. You go to church, your kid has an iPad. Like, a lot of times kids want information like that. And so our traditional way of teaching doesn't always work anymore. So we do try to think of new, exciting ways to introduce topics, to introduce lessons. And I'm not right or wrong. It may not meet your expectations. So when you see that, ask a question and say, why? Because like that, we could keep talking about this, but until you bring those examples to us and we can have some good conversations, I don't know what more to say.
I think that's the hard pill to swallow, right? Continue to trust the teachers, and right? We've got this from an administrator. So
I apologize, guys.
Is the curriculum published?
So it is, we were talking about that. It is online, but it's only if you were in that class. And so we're gonna work on if your child was in that class. Yeah, that we have a scope and sequence. They have a syllabus and resources. Say that again.
I'm not gonna attend the classes, so it would be hard for me to see.
Yeah. Because right now your child would have to show you, but we can figure out a way to get it online.
I'm kind of sure whole story, right?
Yes.
Well, I know it's been a long evening for everyone, and I really, not just to say it, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for sharing what is in your hearts and on your minds. Because, and I said this at the board meeting, this is the way that we work together and solve problems. And we have to make sure that we're constantly doing that and not dividing against each other, because it's deadly in terms of what it can do to a community. So please keep talking, please keep the lines of communication open. We will work on some things to take what you've said tonight and make it so that it's something that you can see and know. Reach out to any of us. We're available, call the administrative office, but yeah, we know this isn't just tonight. We know that. We never intended it to be just tonight, but we wanted to have this opportunity for us to be able to have this discussion, which is why we're all here, so.
Can we at least get a community before school now?
Sorry? What did you say?
Can we at least get some sort of commitment before school is out? Because my fear is gonna be summer, everybody's gone.
No, I know, that's right. I mean, I would like Laura's 30, I think in 30 days we can do with something, right? In 30 days?
Yeah.
30
days. Yes. Yeah, I want to finish ISTEP testing because Armando is trying to get that done, but it's something we can put together.
So did I just hear that we're down from 30 days down to 20 days? Is that what I just heard?
No, we're gonna, within 30.
And how will that be communicated?
Don't know.
Well, yeah, I think it depends on what we do and how we communicate.
Yeah, and it could be that your building principals looking for parent volunteers to join a bigger conversation.
When is the next board meeting?
May 11th. Second, third. Is it the 11th? It's the second. Yeah, I think it's the 11th.
I have one thing to say too. It is a little bit disheartening when there's a school board meeting being held and we're not on the agenda. Like,
So, and I understand, I do, I understand.
I mean, you're a school board, we're a community,
Right.
we're gonna work together.
Right.
That totally needs to be taken off. You're not on the agenda.
So the reason that we do that, and I know it doesn't sound, and we were available, we stuck around to talk, but we do have to conduct the business. Like, and I know it sounds boring and it sounds legal.
No, I think we
have to do that. Like, we have to make motions to approve payments of bills, to approve personnel, to approve paperwork that's being done. We have to do that. It literally takes, on a good night, 5 to 10 minutes. We recognize the students at the beginning of our meeting because we want to celebrate them. And then we give them the chance to go if they don't want to stick around for that boring 5 to 10 minutes. Anybody's welcome to stay, but we have to conduct that business. So if we open that time up to everything, it makes that part of it hard to complete. So that is why, that's the reason.
Do you understand how it looks like you weren't being transparent for the last board meeting when you cut the video?
So, where's Jeff?
We have a technical issue, and I've got, had somebody come and fix it, but we left the audio. One way to fix the video was to reboot the system, but that would have killed everything. So we maintained the audio was pure.
The audio ended, as I was watching it live, it ended. I could not hear what